Chapter 366. Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya immediately determined that Qin Yu was hiding in the Qingyu immortal mansion. After all, in that sort of situation, it was impossible to escape using teleportation or greater teleportation. In the depths of the blue snow star, Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya were standing in the middle of the magma. The roaring magma was at most an inch away from them, no matter if it was their clothes or their long hair. The magma was unable to approach them in the slightest. The two of them were motionless. His devil's sense and immortal sense carefully searched every place, every mountain, every piece of sand, every speck of dust, and even every particle in the fog. At the beginning, Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya were very calm. They did not believe that someone who had not even reached the emperor level would be able to escape. They carefully searched, and were confident that they would be able to capture Qin Yu. However, after half a day, Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya gradually had a trace of anxiety on their faces. A day later, gone. Emperor Yu's face was filled with disbelief. At the same time, he looked to Shui Tianya beside him. Shui Tianya, did you discover? Shui Tianya turned around and looked to Emperor Yu. I didn't discover. Feng Yu, if it wasn't for you coming to cause trouble, I would have already killed this Qin Yu. Shui Tianya's words contained a trace of anger. The bewitching god painting and 10,000 beasts atlas were about to be in his hands. However, because of Feng Yu, he did not succeed. Emperor Yu coldly humphed. He had already sent people to monitor Qin Yu when he appeared in the Amber Moon Star. Among the big shots of the immortal, devil and demon realm, he was definitely the first to discover Qin Yu. If one were to talk about unwillingness in his heart, then Emperor Yu would be the most unwilling. Shui Tianya, treasures like the bewitching god painting and 10,000 beasts atlas are not that easy to obtain. We can only hope to obtain the bewitching god painting and 10,000 beasts atlas if we work together to capture Qin Yu. Hearing what Emperor Yu said, Shui Tianya slightly frowned. He then indifferently nodded and said, "But how do we find him?" Emperor Yu lightly smiled and said, "Rest assured, in that situation earlier, no matter what, it would be impossible for Qin Yu to escape using greater teleportation. He only has one method, and that is to enter the Qingyu immortal mansion." Shui Tianya nodded to express his agreement. As for the illusion restriction of the Qingyu immortal mansion, I've seen it before when immortal Emperor Yang was still alive. Although it's mysterious, it shouldn't have escaped my detection. However, we haven't discovered it yet. Shui Tianya interrupted. Emperor Yu nodded and said solemnly, "That's right. The two of us searched carefully, but didn't find anything. Then there's only one possibility. Immortal Emperor Yang had improved the illusion restriction after that. That's the only reason." Shui Tianya agreed. How could Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya possibly imagine that Qin Yu possessed a spatial divine artifact? A divine artifact that even people could enter. After all, that kind of divine weapon was something that even Emperor Yu had never seen or heard of. They didn't believe that Qin Yu could have obtained such an amazing divine tool. Even if the illusion restriction has been improved, and it's hard for us to discover it in a short period of time, there's one thing that's absolutely certain. That Qin Yu is definitely not far from us. Emperor Yu deduced. Shui Tianya's eyes lit up. Almost at the same time, Shui Tianya and Emperor Yu both released their respective domains. The magma and ores within a circumference of several hundred miles all shook. They were already within the domains of the two great experts. Buzz! The fine granules of the magma were all destroyed and turned into nothingness. Even the hardest ores were shattered and turned into nothingness. If there was an object that was transformed from the Qingyu immortal mansion, then it would definitely not be shattered. It wasn't through investigation, but rather through the elimination technique. With a flick of the finger, everything within a circumference of several hundred miles was turned into nothingness. There was only a very small ore left. There's one. Emperor Yu flipped his hand, and an ore that wasn't shattered from 100 miles away was shot over with lightning speed. It's mine. Shui Tianya discovered this hard, or almost at the same time. He also released a claw-shaped energy to grab that ore. The two energies grabbed onto the ore at the same time. The two of them fought over it with all their might. Bang! The small or that couldn't endure the two energies fighting over it exploded. So it really is a sulfur rock. Emperor Yu sighed and said with a smile. Shui Tianya also laughed at himself. A sulfur rock. Earlier, they had thought that it was transformed from the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. Everything that had happened earlier told them that it was impossible for that to be the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. How could the Grand Immortal Emperor in Yang's Qingyu Immortal Mansion be so weak? Shui Tianya, farewell. Emperor Yu clasped his hands and said. Shui Tianya said indifferently. Farewell. The two of them turned into two rays of light and shot out from the underground at the same time. Although the two of them had left the underground, neither of them had left the blue snow star. That was because the two of them were certain that Qingyu was definitely hiding somewhere on the blue snow star. The two super experts had both stayed on the blue snow star. Even their devil awareness and immortal awareness had completely covered the blue snow star without stopping for even a moment. Once Qingyu came out from the Qingyu Immortal Mansion, these two people would definitely discover him. Times magma sprayed out from the shattered surface. A lot of it even directly rushed into the river. In the end, it turned into ice-cold rocks. As for Qinyu's Jianglan's realm, it had turned into a drop of magma and rushed into the river. Following the surging of the river, Qinyu's Jianglan's realm turned into an ordinary grain of sand and sank to the bottom of the river. Last time, when Qinyu was discovered by the level 7 Devil Emperor, white-haired blood devil Shui Yiling, it was because the air particles of Qinyu's immortal mansion did not explode or flow when Shui Yiling exploded his energy. That was why Shui Yiling discovered the uniqueness of the Qingyu immortal mansion. And this time, Qingyu had turned the Jianglan's realm into a magma like magma and rushed into the river along with the magma. As for Shui Tianya and Emperor Yu, they only started to search the surroundings several hundred miles a day later. At that time, Qinyu's Jianglan's realm had already sunk into the river. Inside the first layer space of the Jianglan's realm, the surface of the Jianglan's realm was filled with boundless land. Because of the abundance of elemental spirit energy, many plants and flowers grew on the land of the Jianglan's realm. It was filled with endless vitality, and currently, Qingyu was standing on the grassland of the Jianglan's realm as he looked at the boundless space of the Jianglan's realm. Qingyu understood that with the temperaments of Shui Tianya and Emperor Yu, they would definitely not leave so easily. They would definitely be carefully monitoring from outside. Furthermore, Qingyu was also able to sense that strands of immortal awareness and devil awareness were unceasingly flowing through the grain of sand that the Jianglan's realm had turned into. The transformation ability of the Jianglan's realm was indeed extraordinary. Even if Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya were to join hands, they were still unable to sense where the Jianglan's realm was. Their immortal awareness and devil awareness had already searched for the grain of sand that was the Jianglan's realm more than once. However, they still only treated it as an ordinary grain of sand. I am truly not cautious enough. Qingyu carefully recalled his actions in this period of time. He shook his head and smiled. Level 8 Immortal Emperor. Level 8 Devil Emperor. The two great giants were monitoring from outside. Regarding this, Qingyu did not really care. If he were to restrain his soul's power and completely merge it with Lu Xing's tear, and not use the energy within his body, even Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya would definitely not be able to detect him. If I don't use the energy within my body, Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya would definitely not be able to detect me. However, if I were to leave the Jianglan's realm and leave the blue snow star, would I be able to not use my energy the entire time? Qingyu was a bit worried. If he were to immediately leave the Jianglan's realm, Qingyu must not use the slightest bit of energy. If he were to use it, then Emperor Yu and them would discover him. Even if I do not use the slightest bit of energy, when I enter the interstellar conveying array, Emperor Yu and them would also be surprised to discover that the interstellar conveying array that I am using is operating. However, they are unable to detect the aura of anyone inside. They would definitely be suspicious. Qingyu was able to imagine that situation. The interstellar conveying array was operating, but there was no one inside? This sort of situation was completely unreasonable. If Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya were to discover this situation, then they would likely directly teleport there. Even if he was able to teleport out, then it was likely that Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya would order their people to surround and attack Qin Yu from the other side of the interstellar conveying array and intercept Qin Yu. After that, Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya would chase after him. Therefore, this would also not work. There's another method. It's a bit more troublesome. Qin Yu thought of all the possible scenarios. This method was, Qin Yu would not use the slightest bit of energy after leaving the interstellar conveying array. However, at a certain moment, he would suddenly use greater teleportation to another planet. Even if Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya were to discover it, how would they know where Qin Yu was? Although this method was not bad, but if Qin Yu wanted to go to the demon realm, the shortest distance would be through the immortal realm. If he were to go through the devil realm, then he would have to take a big detour. From the Indigo Bay star field to the immortal realm, and then to the demon realm. This Indigo Snow Star was one of the two great transit planets from the Indigo Bay star field to the immortal realm. After he left, he would be able to depart from the other transit planet. However, if he were to do this, how could Emperor Yu and them not think of it? It was likely that either Emperor Yu or Xue Tianya would directly wait for him on the other transit planet. What should I do? If I were to leave now, it would be unrealistic to go to the immortal realm through the transit planet. Could it be that I have to take a detour from the devil realm? Qin Yu was pondering in his heart. Qin Yu had never thought of directly using greater teleportation to go from the Indigo Bay star field to the immortal realm. There was an extremely long distance between the two star fields that did not have any celestial bodies. This distance was so large that it exceeded the length of a galaxy. Although there were no large celestial bodies in this part of the universe, there were some frightening and dangerous energies. To directly use greater teleportation to advance continuously, even Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya would not dare to do such a crazy thing. Qin Yu had subconsciously eliminated this method. Currently, there were only two safe paths in front of Qin Yu. The first path, after leaving, he would directly use greater teleportation to another planet. Then, he would change his appearance and conceal his aura to go to the devil realm. Then, he would take a big detour to go to the demon realm. The second path, wait. Wait until Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya lost their patience and thought that Qin Yu had already left the Indigo Snow Star. Qin Yu would depart again. Which path should he choose? I should first solve the problem of the method of attack, and then consider which path to take. Qin Yu shook his head. For the time being, he did not consider which path to take. First, solve the problem of the method of attack during battle. Method of attack. Qin Yu's weakness. When he was fighting against Yu Qingzi, Immortal Lord Qian Qi, and even when he was fighting against experts like Shui Yiling, Ji Bai, and Devil Emperor Shui Yi, Qin Yu felt that there was a problem with his method of attack. Especially when Qin Yu saw the battle between Ao Wuming, Shui Yiling, and Ji Bai. When he saw the battle between Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya, Qin Yu was even more certain that there was a problem with his method of attack. Other people's attacks were very powerful and contained extremely strong attack power. What about himself? It seemed that he could only rely on his speed, rely on his nearly undying body, and risk his life to exchange attacks with his opponents. That's right. He possessed a divine armor and elemental life force. It would be very hard for others to kill him. His divine sword Sky Piercer was able to kill a few level 1 or 2 immortal lords. However, this method of attack was only a simple method of attack that utilized his own advantages. His method of attack was still stuck in the Hidden Dragon Continent's battle between mortal experts, and still stuck in the battle between cultivators. His method of attack was simply not the method of a golden immortal, nor was it the method of an immortal lord. His foundation was solid. His soul was strengthened by Lu Xing's tears. His body was practically undying. On the outside, he also possessed the divine armor for defense. On the attack, he had the divine sword Sky Piercer. If he wanted strength, he had strength. If he wanted weapons, he had weapons. Merely, his attack power was not completely unleashed. Qin Yu had an impulse. He wanted to create a martial technique that belonged to him, one that was suitable for him. a martial technique that was capable of unleashing his attack power to the pinnacle and unleashing the greatest power. If his current attack power was 100, Qin wanted to create the most suitable method of attack to increase his attack power to 1,000 or even higher. Inside the Jianglan's realm, Qin wholeheartedly immersed himself in creating his own martial technique. Time passed. Qin recalled the scenes one by one, especially the scenes of the various experts fighting. The two most important battles were the battle between Xue Tianya and Emperor Yu, and the battle between Ao Wuming and Xue Yiling and Ji Bai. Qin unceasingly recalled the scenes of the battles between the various experts. Because of his sensitive immortal awareness, although he was unable to clearly see every single move of their battle, he was still able to see a portion of it. As he continued to research, Qin would occasionally become excited like a child who had obtained a toy. Occasionally, he would display the most simple and honest smile as he comprehended a profound realm of attack. Qin comprehension toward battle was increasing at an astonishing speed. Qin finally understood why a large amount of experts wanted to see the immortal emperors fighting each other. The main reason was because they wanted to comprehend a new realm from the immortal emperor's attacks. Although Qin soul's level was very high, his soul's level was not obtained through comprehension. It was also not obtained through the gradual comprehension of other experts through the river of time. The state of his soul was based on the meteoric tier, which was the cultivation method of the three souls' 9 refinements. When he made those hand seals which contained great magical powers, he knew what they were, but didn't know why they were made. Although this kind of training gave him a solid foundation, he had yet to truly comprehend that realm. Thus, even though Qin soul's level had reached the 3rd level of the earthly soul realm, the level of his attack techniques were still very low. At the very most, they were only at the level of the heavenly immortal. Since the level of his attack techniques were low, the efficiency would naturally be low. As the number of people fighting against each other increased, Qin naturally felt that there was a problem with his own attack techniques. Qin soul's level was very high. As Qin recalled the scenes of the battles between experts, and then comprehended the various realms step by step, it was naturally a lot faster. During the comprehension, the attack techniques that belonged to Qin were also gradually taking shape. For true experts, their attack techniques were all the most suitable for their own conditions. Time passed. On the blue snow star outside of the Jianglan's realm, Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya were bitterly monitoring. However, Qin was instead immersed in the joy of truly comprehending every realm. Chapter 367. Inside the Jianglan's realm, Qin was unable to sense the passage of time at all. Comprehending time and time again had caused Qin to be in a state of excitement. In that state, Qin was filled with passion, strands of energy surged forth. Qin was like a phantom as he floated about. The speed and power of each strand of energy was extremely astonishing. Suddenly, no! Qin suddenly stopped. At this moment, it was unknown whether to laugh or cry on Qin face. At the moment when he was comprehending the realm, Qin suddenly discovered that the 18 forms finger techniques that he had created in the past actually needed to be discarded. That was because the finger techniques that he had created not long ago were actually not suitable for him. This caused Qin to feel a bit uncomfortable. However, there was still one thing that caused Qin to feel excited. That was because Qin had finally understood domain. Domain was a consummate skill that belonged to emperor-level experts. If one did not comprehend it, it would appear to be extremely profound. However, once one comprehended it, it was actually extremely simple. So the world is actually like this. The boundless cosmic space possesses its own special rules. Every single energy, every single existence, all possess their own reason for existing. Qin looked at every space in the Jianglan's realm. In the past, in Qin eyes, the cosmic space was merely a cosmic space. However, in the current Qin eyes, the cosmic space possessed its own special rules. Those rules were extremely profound and profound. The current Qin had merely sensed their existence. As for comprehending them, he was simply unable to do so. However, Merely sensing their existence was already sufficient for Qinyu to use domain. That 18 forms finger techniques seems to be complicated and troublesome now. Only a few types of true attacks are needed. Only the attacks of fused domains are attacks that belong to Emperor-level experts. Qinyu closed his eyes. His immortal awareness and the energy within his body began to spread out. To comprehend domain, the most important thing was the degree of compatibility between one's soul and the cosmic space. Although Qinyu's soul was only at the 3rd level of the earthly soul realm, with the assistance of Lu Xing's tear, he was still able to use domain. Within a radius of 100 miles, the space was still as tranquil as before. However, there were strands of black hole energy hidden in the darkness. Qinyu's black hole energy had fused with the entire space. Within the range of this domain, Qinyu was able to restrict his opponent's movements, and even suddenly attack his opponent. Back when Qinyu and Yu Qingzi were fighting, Yu Qingzi had relied on this move to restrain Qinyu, preventing Qinyu's attacks from flowing smoothly. After comprehending domain, Qinyu's understanding of combat had deepened by another level. Qinyu completely abandoned the 18 styles finger techniques that he had originally created. With his current understanding of the universe, he once again created an attack method that was more suitable for himself. Times on a mountain peak on Blue Snow Planet. One was dressed in white, the other in purple. Xue Tianya and Emperor, you were standing at the summit of the mountain. Brother Snow, it's already been 5 years. In these 5 years, the two of us have been observing every corner of the blue snow star the entire time. Although we've discovered some other interesting things, we have yet to discover any trace of Qinyu, said Emperor Yu with a light smile. Xue Tianya also smiled indifferently. Back then, the battle on the blue snow star had caused the relationship between the two of them to be slightly tense, and even somewhat hostile. However, in these 5 years, the two of them had not discovered Qinyu. After using their immortal awareness and devil awareness to cover the entire blue snow star for a long period of time, the two great experts had already felt tired. After all, this was not seclusion training where one could cultivate for many years. They had to carefully monitor every single moment. They had a feeling that they might not be able to find Qinyu anymore. The two of them were both losers. The two of them were in the same boat, and their relationship had instead improved a lot. Brother Fengyu, I can't wait any longer. Who knows if that Qinyu would stay in the Qinyu Immortal Mansion for several hundred years, or even 1,000 years, said Xue Tianya with a smile. Emperor Yu also smiled bitterly. That's right. Who knows how long Qinyu would stay in the Qinyu Immortal Mansion? Even now, the two of them still believed that Qinyu was staying in the Qinyu Immortal Mansion. Brother Xue, I have a lot of important matters and cannot stay in the blue snow star forever. I will immediately return to the immortal realm and send 1 or 2 emperor-level experts to monitor the blue snow star, said Emperor Yu with a smile. Me too. The blue snow star is only so big, and Qinyu has yet to reach the emperor level. Sending a devil emperor expert to monitor the entire blue snow star is enough. Once he appears, he will definitely be discovered, said Xue Tianya with certainty. Even now, the two of them did not know how sensitive Qinyu's immortal awareness was. Merely, I'm worried that they wouldn't have the patience to monitor the entire time, sighed Emperor Yu. Even experts like Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya felt mentally tired after persisting for 5 years. If a level 2 or 3 immortal emperor were to monitor the blue snow star, they would probably need to rest for a long time after persisting for a year, Xue Tianya said indifferently. They'll monitor for a period of time, rest for 10 days to half a month, and then continue monitoring. That Qinyu has yet to reach the emperor level. He would not be able to detect the monitoring of emperor-level experts. I don't believe that he would come out at such a coincidental time, when no one is monitoring him. That's right. If Qinyu has yet to reach the emperor level, he would not be able to detect the monitoring of emperor-level experts. Emperor Yu also agreed. This was the greatest reliance that Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya believed, to be able to capture Qinyu. Unfortunately, what they were relying on was completely wrong. If that Qinyu is truly that lucky, and comes out at a time when our people are not monitoring him, then it can only be said that Qin Yu's luck is good. To be so good to such an extent, it can only mean that the heavens are also helping him. That bewitching god painting is temporarily not faded with us, said Xue Tianya with a light smile. Xue Tianya looked at Emperor Yu. Even if that Qin Yu managed to escape to the immortal realm, Brother Feng Yu still has a great chance. After all, in the immortal realm, Brother Feng Yu's power is extremely great. Emperor Yu smiled and did not say anything. Well then, Brother Feng Yu, the people I sent have already arrived at the Blue Snow Star. Farewell. I also need to leave the Blue Snow Star. Farewell. The two great experts separated. What they needed to do now was to inform the people that they dispatched of Qin Yu's aura and soul aura. After all, the immortal emperors that came had never seen Qin Yu before. If one had never seen someone before, then there were two methods to recognize that person. The first method was through a jade slip. One person would transmit the image of that person into the jade slip, and the other person would be able to recognize the image after seeing it. This was merely an image. Once someone changed their appearance, then they would no longer be able to recognize them. The second method was to directly imitate another person's aura and transmit it into the other person's mind. What Emperor Yu and Xue Tianya needed to do was to imitate Qin Yu's aura and imprint it directly into the minds of their subordinates. Of course, this second method was not perfect. That was because imitating another person's aura was, after all, an imitation. It was impossible for it to be completely the same. Those immortal emperors and devil emperors that came had a slightly different understanding of Qin Yu's aura. The devil emperors and immortal emperors that came also knew about this. They would capture all of the people that possessed auras that were close to Qin Yu's aura. They would rather mistakenly capture everyone than let anyone escape. Times the Jianglan's realm was as tranquil as before. In all these years, Qin Yu had mainly researched finger techniques. That was because regardless of whether it was the dark star energy from back then, or the black hole energy now, they were both extremely condensed. With such condensed energy, the finger technique's power would be the best. Qin Yu stood on the grass motionlessly. 10 termination fingers. 10 consecutive golden finger rays were shot out from Qin Yu's fingers. These 10 finger rays did not fly out at the same time. There were slight differences between them. However, if one's soul's level was not high, then one would not be able to detect the differences between these 10 finger rays. They turned into 10 rays of light. Bang! The final 10 golden finger rays actually strangely gathered together and shot onto the ground. When these 10 finger rays were shot out, they were mainly shot out from 6 of Qin Yu's 10 fingers. When they flew out, the 10 finger rays were all parallel or overlapping. It appeared that the 10 finger rays were also flying in a straight line. Theoretically, the 10 finger rays would definitely not overlap. However, inexplicably these 10 finger rays actually overlapped. If it was the Qin Yu from before this secluded training, then he would definitely not be able to understand this. He would even think that this was a mistake. However, the current Qin Yu understood it. Furthermore, he had created this swift and fierce 10 termination fingers. This was the difference between realms. The understanding of mortals, the understanding of cultivators, the understanding of immortals, and even the understanding of emperor-level experts were all different. Now Qin Yu also understood it. When he killed Yu Qingzi, he was clearly the one who attacked first. Furthermore, his speed was faster than Yu Qingzi's. Why was it that Yu Qingzi was able to block his attack every single time? It turned out that sometimes the optimal path of attack between 2 points was not a straight line. At the very least, it was not a rigid straight line. That was because the cosmic space was constantly flowing. The space was constantly changing. The so-called straight line of mortals, to a certain extent, was actually slow. This was also the reason why Qin Yu felt that when experts like Xue Tianya attacked, their attacks were graceful, and the results were extremely good. However, at that time, Qin Yu did not understand the reason. Now he understood. This set of finger techniques of Qin Yu was divided into a total of 4 styles. The first style, 10,000 weight fingers. The second style, 1,000 illusionary fingers. The third style, 10 termination fingers. The fourth style, sky-piercing finger. This final style, sky-piercing finger, was created by Qinyu using the black hole within his body. This was the strongest style that Qinyu was capable of using. Qinyu had once thought that if the black hole was able to produce such a terrifying devouring power when it was spinning, then what about when it was spinning in reverse? Qinyu had experimented. If he were to experiment with it in reverse, it would produce a terrifying ejecting power. As long as Qinyu controlled the power of the black hole at the other end of the black hole and accelerated it by spinning in reverse, the power of the black hole would reach a terrifying speed when it was shot out from the black hole. Soon after, the power of the black hole would pass through Qinyu's finger and shoot out in accordance with his current comprehension. The power of the black hole was so great that even Qinyu was shocked after creating it. However, when using this move, Qinyu would also have to suffer a lot. That was because the power of the black hole, after it was accelerated by spinning in reverse from the other end of the black hole, its speed was far beyond Qinyu's imagination. After it was shot out at that speed, it would quickly pass through Qinyu's body and shoot out from his finger. From his dantian to Qinyu's finger, it was simply impossible to circulate according to the meridians. That was because the speed of the black hole was too fast. It was so fast that Qinyu found it very difficult to circulate it within his meridians. Thus, Qinyu was only able to make it change its direction slightly. Thus, within Qinyu's body, there was a channel formed by life elemental energy. This channel was directly connected from his dantian to Qinyu's finger. That black hole would pass through this life elemental energy channel and shoot out according to the direction pointed by his index finger. Fortunately, ever since Qinyu reached the black hole realm, his consciousness had absorbed the energy from the flower paste space. His consciousness had undergone a transformation. Qinyu's control over his body's energy had also increased by a large amount. Only then was he able to barely control that finger ray with frightening speed to shoot out according to the trajectory that he had comprehended. Inside the Jianglan's realm, Qinyu's aura had become extremely sharp. 10 termination fingers. Qinyu flicked his hands and shot them out. 10 golden finger rays were shot out in succession. Some of them overlapped while some of them were parallel. Just like that, they were shot out. In merely a short moment, these 10 golden finger rays once again overlapped. When the 10 finger rays gathered, their might was obvious. Qinyu paused for a moment. After the surrounding space stabilized, he instantly teleported to a location extremely far away from where the 10 termination fingers were shot out. Sky-piercing finger. Bang! A golden blur was shot out from Qinyu's index finger. Only a short moment after this golden blur was shot out did the air begin to vibrate with an astonishing sound. And at this moment, the golden light of the 10 termination fingers had already flown into Qinyu's field of view. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The 10 termination fingers were defeated. The golden blur continued to shoot out. With an intention from Qinyu, the ground in the distance protruded out and blocked the direction of the sky-piercing finger. A series of explosive sounds were heard. The sky-piercing finger had pierced through an unknown amount of ground before stopping. As the master of the Jianglan's realm, Qinyu was able to easily control the movement of the ground in the Jianglan's realm. The might of the sky-piercing finger is many times stronger than the 10 termination fingers. Qinyu was able to discover that after the sky-piercing finger had defeated the 10 termination fingers, it had only lost a small portion of its power. What should I call this set of finger techniques? Qinyu pondered for a moment. For some unknown reason, Qinyu seemed to have recalled his time in the Hidden Dragon continent. At that time, he had called himself Mr. Lu Xing, and had gone to the great desolate land with his royal father to undergo the 49 heavenly tribulation. And it was also because of the arrival of Lu Xing that he had transformed into a drop of Lu Xing's tear that changed his fate. Qinyu possessed a special feeling toward Lu Xing. Lu Xing, let's call it Lu Xing finger techniques. Qinyu did not really care about this name. The name was merely a symbol. What was truly important was the might of the finger techniques themselves. While others might be able to learn the first 3 moves of this Lu Xing finger techniques, It was likely that only Qin Yu himself would be able to use the fourth move. Qin Yu calculated in his heart. He couldn't help but sigh. 100 years? I've actually trained for 100 years. A set of finger techniques actually took so long to be created. At present, Qin Yu was still at the mid-stage black hole realm. His power had not increased by much, but his actual attack power had increased to a whole new level. In the past 100 years, Qin Yu had mainly created the Lu Xing finger techniques. This Lu Xing finger techniques was simply a finger technique, but in reality, it could also be transformed into a palm technique, a fist technique, and so on. This was because the value of the Lu Xing finger techniques lay in Qin Yu's comprehension of the universe and of the realms. As for Qin Yu's horizons, the level of techniques and so on, they had all reached a whole new level. At the same time, his comprehension of domain had also allowed Qin Yu to truly be qualified to fight against emperor-level experts. Chapter 368. Looking at the boundless space within the Jianglan's realm, Qin Yu took a deep breath. It's time to go out. This time around, I should be a bit more cautious. At the very least, I should change my appearance. Qin Yu changed his appearance. His long hair had turned into 3-inch long short hair. His black gown had also turned into tight blue clothes-fitting clothes. He appeared to be a bit more capable and valiant. At the same time, his appearance had also become a bit more rough. After preparing everything, Qin Yu prepared to leave the Jianglan's realm. Amen. Someone's monitoring me? Qin Yu clearly sensed that there were two people's soul power that swept past the sand formed by the Jianglan's realm. One is an immortal emperor, and the other is a devil emperor. Their strength should be around level 2 or 3 immortal emperors. Qin Yu determined the approximate strength of these two people from the soul power that swept past the sand. After muttering to himself for a moment, Qin Yu felt helpless in his heart. It seems that these two people should be sent by those two level 8 immortal emperors and devil emperors. Regarding these two level 8 immortal emperors and devil emperors, Qin Yu was 80% certain that they were Shui Tianya and Emperor Yu. Humph! Even if they're level 8 immortal emperors, it's still impossible for them to persist forever. If they can't endure it, then they'll have their subordinates, eh? Qin Yu suddenly discovered that one of the immortal awareness had actually disappeared. Qin Yu was slightly startled. Soon after he reacted. It seems that the immortal emperor monitoring me was tired. There were a total of 2 people monitoring him. One was an immortal emperor, and the other was a devil emperor. Currently, that immortal emperor was already resting. When would this devil emperor rest? I hope that there's no cooperation between these two people. Qin Yu hoped in his heart. If these two people were to cooperate, then when I'm resting, you're monitoring me. When you're resting, I'm monitoring you. If Qin Yu wanted to safely leave, then he would have no choice but to take a detour through the devil realm. Qin Yu was not willing to take a detour. Qin Yu was certain that the level 8 devil emperors and level 8 immortal emperors that were chasing after him were competing with each other. How could they possibly cooperate? With this thought in mind, Qin Yu decided to wait and see. He waited for a month. After a month, Qin Yu excitedly discovered that there were no immortal or devil senses monitoring the outside world. Qin Yu didn't know that the immortal emperors and devil emperors had to rest for a month every year. Although their rest periods overlapped, there would always be a period of time where no one was monitoring. Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya were certain that Qin Yu wouldn't be able to detect the surveillance of an emperor-level expert. Furthermore, the time when no one is monitoring them is very short. Therefore, they didn't pay much attention to it. The sky was clear and boundless. There were only a few white clouds floating in the horizon. Blue Snow Planet was very lively at this time. There were a large number of cultivators on the streets. Qin Yu was walking on the street. I remember when the codename Mr. Lu Xing was in the Hidden Dragon continent, he had short hair. I haven't had short hair for a long time. Qin Yu felt very comfortable with his 3-inch short hair. After all, he hadn't had short hair for a long time. Qin Yu quickly passed through the city. As soon as he entered the grassland, Qin Yu immediately teleported to the location of the interstellar transfer array. Since there was no one monitoring him right now, Qin Yu wasn't afraid of being discovered. There were truly a lot of people who wanted to go to the immortal realm from the blue snow planet. At this time, there were already a large number of people queuing up. Where to? The manager of the interstellar transfer array asked Qin Yu. Qin Yu said with a smile, to the immortal realm's long bright star. The immortal realm's long bright star was the border planet between the immortal realm and the Indigo Bay star field. 3 high-grade elemental spirit stones, said the manager indifferently. Qin Yu was slightly shocked. To go from one star field to another, the price was indeed ridiculously high. However, to Qin Yu this amount of money was nothing. After paying the 3 high-grade elemental spirit stones, Qin Yu stepped into the interstellar transfer array. A burst of cheerful radiance flickered. Qin Yu couldn't help but smile. 2 level 8 immortal emperors and a devil emperor. You two are still unable to catch me. Unfortunately, you've wasted so much of your energy, and even allowed me to see a marvelous fight between you two. Instead, I've benefited immensely. The radiance disappeared. Qin Yu also disappeared. In the southernmost region of the immortal realm, there was a resplendent planet. It was under the illumination of a star all year round. There was no such thing as night on this planet. Thus, this planet was called Long Bright Star. In the same galaxy as the Long Bright Star, there was a rather famous planet called the Bright Sulfur Planet. The reason why this Bright Sulfur Planet was famous was because this planet produced extremely rare ores. And at this time, Qin Yu was on the Bright Sulfur Planet. Inside an ordinary restaurant on the Bright Sulfur Planet, Qin Yu was currently drinking this restaurant's so-called signature wine. Qin Yu didn't feel much about this wine. However, he had truly never drunk it before. Drinking it this time could be considered to have broadened his horizons. After being in the Jianglan's realm for so many years, I've never drunk wine nor eaten food. My mouth has become so tasteless. Qin Yu was completely relaxed. In the inner regions of the immortal realm, as long as he did not stir up trouble, it was simply a dream for that level 8 immortal emperor to catch him. Unless that level 8 immortal emperor bumped into him head-on. Even if that level 8 immortal emperor bumped into him head-on, that level 8 immortal emperor would still not be certain of Qin Yu's identity. Level 8 immortal emperor, it ought to be Emperor Yu. Qin Yu thought in his heart. Big brother Wu Ming had also told me when we were chatting. Of the 3 big shots of the immortal realm, the mystic emperor was a woman. As for the Cyan emperor, she rarely fights and is extremely mysterious. According to what Wu Ming had said, and how Emperor Yu had already wanted to kill him, Qin Yu was certain that the level 8 immortal emperor ought to be Emperor Yu. As long as he was careful in Emperor Yu's territory and did not stir up trouble, he ought to be extremely safe. Among the countless planets and countless people, for Emperor Yu to meet Qin Yu face to face, that possibility, just by thinking about it, one would know how small it was. It was already difficult to meet in a planet with over 100 million people, let alone a galaxy with that many planets. How many galaxies were there in the immortal realm? After resting for a day on the Bright Sulfur Star, Qin Yu finally began to set off. Setting off from the southernmost part of the immortal realm, he proceeded towards the border between the immortal realm and the demon realm, which was also the westernmost part of the immortal realm. The immortal realm occupied close to 20% of the entire immortal, devil, and demon realm. There were close to 20 star fields. Qin Yu did not rest at all. From one planet to another, from one galaxy to another, he continued to advance without stopping. Currently, Qin Yu possessed an interstellar map of almost the entire immortal, devil, and demon realm. This interstellar map was obtained by Qin Yu and Ao Wu Ming. With such a brother, how could Qin Yu not know how to cherish resources? When the Dragon Clan's prince made a move, it was indeed extraordinary. On this map of the immortal, devil, and demon realm, the interstellar conveying arrays of the various planets were extremely detailed. Furthermore, this interstellar map was the newest map of the Dragon Clan. The date of its creation was only 100 years ago. 8 great star fields. In a single breath, Qin Yu had advanced to 8 great star fields. In these 10 days, Qin Yu had only rested for half a day. Unceasing transmission, unceasing transmission. Right now, I feel dizzy just by looking at the radiance of the interstellar conveying arrays. Qingyu stepped out of the interstellar conveying array of the Wormwood star. This time, he did not line up to continue advancing. Instead, he first went to the city of the Wormwood star to rest for a while. The Wormwood star was a very ordinary planet. It was also not within Emperor Yu's sphere of influence. Qingyu had a rule in his heart. During his journey, he absolutely could not rest in Emperor Yu's territory. In a city of the Wormwood star, after strolling on the streets for half a day, Qingyu casually bought some interesting gadgets. Then he stepped into a restaurant. After casually ordering a few dishes and a few bottles of wine, Qingyu sat down. Right now I've already passed through 8 star fields. In less than a month, I'll be able to reach the demon realm. Qingyu looked at the scenery outside the window. He felt very relaxed. Senior brother, why did Master summon us back in such a hurry? Following the clear and melodious voice, 4 white-clothed youths walked in from outside the restaurant. These 4 people naturally emitted an air of arrogance. Indeed, among the 4 of them, 2 were level 8 golden immortals, and 2 were level 9 golden immortals. On an ordinary planet like the Wormwood star, this kind of strength was definitely at the peak. It was rare for an emperor-level expert to visit a planet like the Wormwood star. Third junior brother, Master didn't say anything in detail in the transmission spiritual bead. The only dark-skinned youth among the 4 said helplessly, eldest senior brother, third junior brother, I've heard why Master summoned us back to the sect. The second senior brother said mysteriously. The other 3 senior brothers hurriedly looked at the second senior brother. Second senior brother, tell us. Don't hide it anymore. The last person old fourth urged. Second junior brother, quickly tell us. The eldest senior brother also urged. Not far away, Qingyu, who was quietly drinking wine, slightly frowned. He had been rushing all the way and finally came here to rest for a period of time. Yet these 4 senior brothers were making a big fuss. Qingyu endured and didn't say anything. Actually, I'm also not very sure. However, I know that this time, the sect master is very happy. He even invited 2 immortal emperors to celebrate. The second senior brother's face was red as he said proudly, level 9 golden immortal was only 1 step away from level 1 immortal emperor. However, countless experts were stuck at the threshold of level 9 golden immortal, unable to take another step forward. Just by looking at the number of level 9 golden immortals and level 1 immortal emperors in the Jade Sword sect, one could see how difficult it was to take this step. 2 immortal emperors? Which 2 immortal emperors? The 3 senior brothers beside him were curious. The second senior brother slowly drank a mouthful of wine. When the 3 senior brothers were about to teach him a lesson, he said, these 2 immortal emperors, one of them is Immortal Emperor Yufan, one of the 18 immortal emperors under His Majesty. Wow, Immortal Emperor Yufan. The 4th junior brother's eyes shined. I heard that Immortal Emperor Yufan is very powerful. Back then, the leader of a small power in the immortal realm was disrespectful to His Majesty. Immortal Emperor Yufan relied on the Heavenly Fan Seal Arts to kill 3 great immortal emperors consecutively. That power immediately collapsed. 18 immortal emperors? Qinyu's left hand that was holding the wine slightly paused. It seems that only the subordinates of Emperor, you have the title of 18 immortal emperors. Could it be that these senior brothers are Emperor Yu's people? When it came to Emperor Yu, Qinyu couldn't help but concentrate on listening to what these people were saying. Second senior brother, who is the remaining immortal emperor? The 4th junior brother asked. The second senior brother laughed and said, the remaining one is also not an ordinary person. He is also one of the 36 rulers like our sect master. He is the sect master of the Jade Sword sect from the Indigo Bay Star Field, Yu Qingzi. Immortal Emperor Yu Qingzi? That's a sword immortal. The big senior brother's eyes shined. This immortal emperor Yu Qingzi is said to be only a level 1 immortal emperor. However, his attacks are very fierce. Yu Qingzi. Qinyu's heart trembled. He couldn't help but reveal a trace of excitement on his face. Yu Qingzi, oh Yu Qingzi. Last time I didn't kill you. I didn't expect that after so many years, you didn't hide in the Jade Sword sect. Instead, you came to the immortal realm. This time, The heavens want you dead. Qin Yu had always been brooding over Hanshu's death. Although Hanshu's death was a suicide, he was forced to commit suicide. In Qin Yu's heart, the person he wanted to kill the most was Yu Qingzi, the one who made the plan. It was Yu Qingzi who made the plan to encircle and kill Qin Yu. If it wasn't for that plan, what happened to his disciple? On the Amber Moon Star, Qin Yu continuously attacked Yu Qingzi. However, the difference in strength between him and Yu Qingzi was too great. Even though he had the body of a sword immortal puppet, his understanding of battle was too low. He was completely restrained by Yu Qingzi's domain. This time Yu Qingzi, you will definitely die. Qin Yu made up his mind to kill Yu Qingzi first. From the words of these four martial brothers, Yu Qingzi should be together with two other immortal emperors. One of them is one of the 36 rulers, and the other is one of the 18 emperors, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. That Immortal Emperor Yu Fan is slightly more troublesome. However, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan is definitely not on par with the Green Blood Sword Immortal. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan is still unable to kill me. Qin Yu's heart was not afraid at all. However, one must also have a plan when making arrangements, right? At the very least, he knew what sect these four martial brothers were from, and which planet they were on. Qin Yu pondered in his heart. His face could not help but reveal a trace of a smile. She invited two immortal emperors to celebrate. Sect master must have some joyous occasion. Third martial brother said with a smile. At this moment, they were also looking forward to returning. After all, there were two immortal emperors who could see them. Soon after, the four martial brothers began to make a ruckus again. The other people in the restaurant did not dare to reprimand them. After all, these four people were too strong. You four juniors, be quiet. A deep voice came from the corner of the restaurant. Who? The faces of the four martial brothers changed. At the same time, they looked towards the direction of the voice. It was Qin Yu who had changed his appearance. Eldest martial brother, the enemy is unfathomable. Second martial brother transmitted. How could the eldest martial brother not know that the four martial brothers were terrified the moment they saw Qin Yu? This was because they discovered that the four of them were unable to detect even a trace of Qin Yu's aura. If they were to close their eyes, they would even think that there was no one in that corner. Senior, we four martial brothers did not know that Senior was here. We have been impulsive. Eldest martial brother stood out and said respectfully, which sect are you from? Who are your seniors? Qin Yu drank his wine and said indifferently. His eyes did not even look at the four martial brothers. Eldest martial brother said respectfully, we are disciples of the Floating Moon Galaxy's Ice Wind sect. The sect master is Immortal Emperor Bing Lian. Oh, so you are a disciple of Bing Lian's sect. For Bing Lian's sake, I will let it go. Qin Yu stood up indifferently. Then his figure flashed and he appeared at the door. With his back facing the four martial brothers, he said, Juniors, remember this. In the future, before you make a ruckus in the restaurant, look clearly at who is inside. Yes, yes. The four martial brothers stood respectfully. Hearing Qin Yu's familiar tone when he addressed Immortal Emperor Bing Lian, coupled with the fact that they were unable to see through his strength, they were certain that this unfathomable person in front of them was definitely an emperor-level expert. When the four of them raised their heads to look, Qin Yu had already disappeared. At this moment, the four of them let out a long sigh of relief. Chapter 369. Beside the interstellar conveying array of the Wormwood Star, Qin Yu directly teleported to it. Floating Moon Galaxy Ice Wind Sect. Qin Yu took out a jade slip. This jade slip was obtained from Ao Wuming. Within it was a map of practically all the places in the immortal, devil, and demon realm. Fortunately, I asked Big Brother Wuming for this interstellar map. If it was still the simple interstellar map from before, I reckon that it would be impossible to find the Ice Wind Sect's planet in the Floating Moon Galaxy. However, Big Brother Wuming's interstellar map is much more detailed. Qin Yu's face was filled with joy. On the map that Ao Wuming gave him, there was a detailed introduction of every planet. For example, which power controlled the planet, and who was the expert overseeing the power. In short, it was extremely detailed. Qin Yu swept through the floating moon galaxy's planets with his immortal awareness, and immediately found the planet where the Ice Wind sect was located. White Ice Star. This was the planet where the Ice Wind sect was located. The entire surface of this planet was covered with a layer of ice. The two great cities on this white ice star were directly opened by immortal cultivators using their power. Furthermore, they used restrictions to maintain the warmth of spring inside. The floating moon galaxy is not far from here. I've already been here for so many years, there's no need to rush these few days. Qin Yu immediately paid the fee and stepped into the interstellar conveying array. Following the flickering of light, Qin Yu continued onward. Although the Wormwood star did not belong to the floating moon galaxy, it was in the same star field as the floating moon galaxy. Half a day later, floating moon galaxy's white ice star, White Wind City. In a restaurant in the White Wind City, this restaurant could be considered as luxurious in the entire White Wind City. Behind the restaurant was a quiet courtyard. The cost of a day's accommodation was also an expensive price of 100. Boss, if there's nothing, don't let anyone disturb me. After casually throwing a high-quality elemental spirit stone, Qin Yu walked toward a courtyard behind the restaurant. Senior, please rest assured, there will definitely be no one disturbing Senior. Seeing a high-quality elemental spirit stone, the middle-aged man on the counter immediately displayed a joyous expression. Usually, experts would casually give 1 or 2 high-quality elemental spirit stones and not ask for change even after they leave. As for Qin Yu, in the eyes of this boss, he was clearly such a generous senior. In the quiet courtyard, Qin Yu was quietly thinking about the matter of killing Yu Qingzi. After suffering a great loss last time, Qin Yu had learned his lesson. The floating moon galaxy is Emperor Yu's territory. It is precisely under the control of this Ice Wind sect. However, in the Plate Egg Star field, where the floating moon galaxy is located, there is only one galaxy that belongs to Emperor Yu. Qin Yu looked at the information on the interstellar map. None of the 3 giants of the immortal realm had complete control over a star field. They only occupied different star systems in different star fields. Some occupied 1 star system, some occupied 2 or 3 star systems, and some didn't even have a single star system. This time, Qin Yu killed Yu Qingzi. His only concern was the other 2 immortal emperors. Qin Yu, who had comprehended the Lu Xing finger technique and the domain, had enough confidence to kill the first-level immortal emperor, Yu Qingzi. However, the other 2 immortal emperors were a little troublesome, especially one of them, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, who was one of the 18 immortal emperors, was extremely powerful. Under Emperor Yu, there were 18 immortal emperors and 36 lords. Among them, even the weakest of the 18 immortal emperors was stronger than the strongest of the 36 lords. Evidently, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's strength was at least stronger than Immortal Emperor Qianqi. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan is not the green-blooded sword immortal. It is still impossible for him to kill me. However, no matter what, I cannot let that Emperor Yu find out about this and chase after me. If Emperor Yu were to come, then this matter would be troublesome. Although he had yet to make his move, Qin Yu was already considering the worst-case scenario. First of all, even if I were to kill Yu Qingzi, I cannot let Immortal Emperor Yu Fan and them know that I am Qin Yu. Qin Yu had already decided in his heart. This time, he would use the Lu Xing finger technique. It was still impossible for the other party to infer that he was Qin Yu from the Lu Xing finger technique. Even if they were to find out many years later, at that time, with Qin Yu's strength, there would be no need for him to be afraid of others. If my identity were to be exposed, if that Emperor Yu were to chase after me, how would I escape then? Qin Yu did not know where Emperor Yu was currently. If the distance was far, it would be impossible for him to chase after him in such a short period of time. It's just that Qin Yu now has to consider every situation clearly. Here, Qin Yu's immortal awareness discovered a place. Another galaxy of the Plate Egg Star field, the Angelica de Hurica Galaxy. The Angelica de Hurica Galaxy was the territory of the Cyan Emperor. Cyan Emperor, one of the 3 big shots of the immortal realm. The division of powers on the Dragon Clan's interstellar map actually listed the Cyan Emperor as a power that cannot be provoked? Qin Yu saw some of the detailed hints on the Dragon Clan's interstellar map and couldn't help but be shocked. Qin Yu didn't know that this interstellar map that belonged to the Dragon Clan would be updated once every 100 years. It belonged to the internal information. Furthermore, only the higher-ups were allowed to read it. The reason why Ao Wuming gave it to Qin Yu was because he had indeed considered Qin Yu as a good brother. This Cyan Emperor is actually known as Evergreen. The amount of time he stayed at the level of Immortal Emperor is actually known as the longest in history. Qin Yu saw some of the introductions regarding the Cyan Emperor in the Jade Slip and was shocked. The Cyan Emperor was a person overflowing with talent. The amount of time it took for him to cultivate from a heavenly immortal to a level 8 Immortal Emperor was not long. However, after he reached level 8 Immortal Emperor, he had never broken through again. When he had just reached level 8 Immortal Emperor, even the hidden Emperor Lin Yin was still a nobody in the immortal realm. During the time he stayed at level 8 Immortal Emperor, Lin Yin cultivated from a nobody to a level 9 Immortal Emperor in one go, and became a peak existence in the immortal realm. Anyone who saw this introduction would find it strange. Why would a person overflowing with talent stay at level 8 Immortal Emperor for such a long time? Even if he had the aptitude of an ordinary Immortal Emperor, he would still be able to break through to level 9 Immortal Emperor in such a long time. Could it be that the Cyan Emperor deliberately did not absorb the energy? That's not right. Qin Yu started to frown. Even if a cultivator does not deliberately train, their body would still automatically absorb energy. Even if the speed of the energy that the body automatically absorbs is very slow, but in such a long period of time, the amount of energy that the body absorbs is sufficient to allow one to reach level 9 Immortal Emperor. Not to mention cultivation experts. Even cultivators who have reached the level of Jin Dan would have their bodies automatically absorb energy. It's just that the speed of the body's automatic absorption is relatively slow. It can't catch up with the speed of wholeheartedly controlling the absorption. Could it be that the Cyan Emperor is unwilling to reach level 9 Immortal Emperor? That's why he has been controlling his body to not absorb energy, and even dispersing a portion of the energy in his body after a period of time? Qin Yu did not believe this. What's so good about being a level 8 Immortal Emperor forever? Just to survive? Qin Yu could not believe that the Cyan Emperor stayed at level 8 Immortal Emperor, because he was afraid of the divine tribulation. It was impossible for such a cowardly person to cultivate to level 8 Immortal Emperor. The Cyan Emperor had cultivated for a long time. His soul realm might be very high, surpassing level 9 Immortal Emperor, or even higher. The soul realm only represented the amount of energy one could control. The energy in one's body was the foundation to resist the divine tribulation. Sooner or later, one would have to undergo the divine tribulation. Why drag it out? Qin Yu was puzzled. This Cyan Emperor is truly mysterious. He was even determined by the Dragon Clan to be the most untouchable person in the immortal realm. A trace of a smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. He was too lazy to care why the Cyan Emperor stayed at level 8 Immortal Emperor. However, Qin Yu knew one thing. Even the Dragon Clan determined the Cyan Emperor to be the most untouchable person in the immortal realm. It was impossible for Emperor Yu to not know how powerful the Cyan Emperor was. Therefore, Emperor Yu did not dare to be arrogant in the Cyan Emperor's territory. It would be safest for him to escape into the Cyan Emperor's territory. From the White Ice Star, I can directly use the interstellar conveying array to reach the Angelica de Hurica galaxy. Qin Yu thought of a possibility. If he were to kill Yu Qingzi, then Immortal Emperor Bing Lian and Immortal Emperor Yu Fan might give the order to stop the interstellar conveying array. If that's really the case, then I'll just use greater teleportation to advance. After all, the floating moon galaxy is close to the Angelica de Hurica galaxy. Qin Yu felt relaxed. Qin Yu did not dare to use greater teleportation between star fields. However, Qin Yu still had the courage to do so between star fields. Furthermore, Qin Yu could also go to another planet, and then go to the Angelica de Hurica galaxy. The interstellar conveying array to the Angelica de Hurica galaxy was not only in the white ice star. Good, it's decided then. Qingyu was completely confident in his heart. No matter what the situation would become, he would just escape to the Angelica de Hurica galaxy. There were two great cities in the white ice star. One was the White Wind City, and the other was the Ice Imperial City. The White Wind City occupied a larger area than the Ice Imperial City. However, the Ice Imperial City had a higher status than the White Wind City. That was because the Ice Wind sect was located in the Ice Imperial City. The Ice Imperial City also had the most experts. After exiting the White Wind City, phew, what cold weather! Under his feet was an endless amount of solid ice. Even though the sun was shining brightly, the temperature was still very low. An air cushion formed by strong qi automatically appeared under Qinyu's feet. Skating on the endless ice layer, Qinyu rapidly flew towards the Ice Imperial City. Skating. How interesting. After skating for a short distance, Qinyu would use teleportation to advance a large distance. Then, he would skate for a short distance before using teleportation to advance a large distance. Just like that, after teleporting 3 times, Qinyu arrived at the gates of the Ice Imperial City. The 2 guards of the Ice Imperial City saw a person from afar. Their feet were stuck to the ice layer as they shot over at high speed. Skating. The 2 guards were stunned. The distance between the White Wind City and the Ice Imperial City was very far. If one were to rely on skating, how long would it take? Usually, people who came here would either teleport or fly over at high speed. They had never seen someone skating over. Brother, hurry up and get out of the way. That person is an expert. One of the guards shouted to the other. As guards of the Ice Imperial City, they had at least the strength of a golden immortal. They still had a bit of insight. Qinyu directly skated through the gates of the Ice Imperial City. Interesting. Qinyu let out a long sigh as he withdrew the energy beneath his feet. There wasn't any hard ice inside the Ice Imperial City. Furthermore, Qinyu had only done it in a moment of childishness. The Ice Imperial City was very prosperous. Although it wasn't as big as the White Wind City, the layout of the entire city was very compact and very beautiful. Walking on the streets, Qinyu instantly spread out his immortal awareness and covered the entire Ice Imperial City. In the center of the Ice Imperial City was the location of the Ice Wind sect. The main hall of the Ice Wind sect was 99 floors high. At the top of the 99 floors of the main hall, there was an extremely beautiful ice sculpture of an enormous beauty. Lively. With just a sweep of his immortal awareness, Qinyu discovered the liveliness of the Ice Wind sect. It was as if something joyous had happened. The entire Ice Wind sect was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. Everyone was laughing. This is a bit troublesome. This Yu Qingzi is actually living together with another immortal Emperor Yu Fan. The instant his immortal awareness swept past, the expert of the Ice Wind sect, Qinyu, had already discovered it. There were 4 immortal emperors in the Ice Seal sect. The strongest level 6 immortal emperor should be one of the 18 immortal emperors under Emperor Yu. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. Second to Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was a beautiful immortal emperor. This beautiful immortal emperor's appearance was exactly the same as that enormous ice sculpture of an enormous beauty. She should be the sect master of the Ice Wind sect, Immortal Emperor Bing Lian. The third strongest was Yu Qingzi, a level 1 immortal emperor sword immortal. As for the weakest immortal emperor, it was a youngster who had just stepped into the level 1 immortal emperor. That immortal emperor Bing Lian and that youngster should be people of the Ice Wind sect. The place where they live belongs to the people of the Ice Wind sect. As for Yu Qingzi and immortal Emperor Yu Fan, they live in the place where the guests live. Qinyu was able to clearly determine that because there were several tens of people in the area where Yu Qingzi lived, the aura of these several tens of people were different from the aura of the people of the Ice Wind sect. Senior sister, martial uncle young sect master is indeed a genius. He started cultivating much later than us. Back then, when I was still a heavenly immortal, young sect master was still a child. Now, young sect master has already reached the immortal emperor realm. It hasn't even been 100,000 years yet. Amen. Martial Uncle Young Sect Master is so capable. Sect Master is also very happy. I heard from Master that Sect Master is always smiling these few days. Two white-clothed women laughed as they brushed past Qingyu. Young Sect Master? Qingyu continued to walk forward. Along the way, Qingyu discovered that the majority of the people in the Ice Imperial City were discussing this genius youngster, who cultivated to the level 1 Immortal Emperor realm in less than 100,000 years. Ice Wind Sect's young sect master Bing Xian, cultivating to the level 9 Golden Immortal realm in less than 100,000 years, was not something to be surprised about. However, cultivating to the level 1 Immortal Emperor realm was enough to be called a genius. Genius. Cultivating to the level 1 Immortal Emperor realm in less than 100,000 years is still a genius? When Qingyu heard so many people's envious voices and praises, he thought of his good brother Jun Luoyu, a genius Immortal Emperor, who cultivated to the level 2 Immortal Emperor realm in less than 100 years. Compared to my brother Luoyu, the difference is too big. Qingyu sighed. In reality, Qingyu's cultivation time was even shorter. It's just that Qingyu believed that relying on Lu Xing's tears could not be considered as an ability. However, Qingyu forgot that, for many people, luck also played a large part in their success. For example, Jun Luoyu also had a part in luck. Qingyu quietly walked on the street. Qingyu had already decided that when he neared the Ice Wind Sect's mountain gate, it would be the moment Yu Qingzi died. And the time that Qingyu was walking right now was the last time Yu Qingzi was alive. Chapter 370. The Ice Wind Sect was located at the center of the Ice Imperial City. However, outsiders were not allowed to enter the Ice Wind Sect at all. That was because the Ice Wind Sect had a great sect protecting formation around it. Around the Ice Wind Sect, there was always a thin mist drifting around it all year round. From the outside, one could only see the supreme ice sculpture. One after another, white-clothed figures shuttled back and forth within the Ice Wind Sect. The entire Ice Wind Sect was brimming with a joyous atmosphere. In the residence of the Ice Wind Sect's guests, Brother Yu Fan, Yu Qingzi was wearing a green robe. He had a slight smile on his face. Bing Xian is able to reach the level of a first-grade Immortal Emperor in such a short period of time. It seems like nephew Bing Xian has a boundless future. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan could not help but smile. Seeing this scene, Yu Qingzi secretly laughed in his heart. Many people have spread rumors that this Immortal Emperor Yu Fan is Bing Xian's biological father. Seems like it's not baseless. The sect master of the Ice Wind Sect, Immortal Emperor Bing Lian, was a woman and did not have a Dao companion. However, Immortal Emperor Bing Lian had a son named Bing Xian. Countless people had been guessing who Bing Xian's father was. The 18 emperors and the 36 rulers under Emperor Yu were also guessing. As for Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, as Immortal Emperor Bing Lian's sworn brother, it could be said that he took great care of Immortal Emperor Bing Lian. Therefore, many people guessed that Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was Bing Xian's real father. However, this was something that Immortal Emperor Yu Fan and Immortal Emperor Bing Lian had never acknowledged. For little Xian to be able to reach the Immortal Emperor realm after cultivating for less than 100,000 years, it's both a good and bad thing. Under the protection of Bing Lian, he basically did not suffer any hardships. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan sighed. Bing Lian is indeed very fond of nephew Bing Xian. Yu Qingzi nodded in agreement. A loving mother leads to a useless son. Fortunately, Bing Xian was born intelligent. Even under such circumstances, he still managed to cultivate to the Immortal Emperor realm. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan shook his head and said with a smile. When Bing Xian reached the Immortal Emperor realm, Immortal Emperor Bing Lian held a grand celebration. Many experts of the Ice Wind Sect rushed back from outside. Even Immortal Emperor Yu Fan and Immortal Emperor Yu Qingzi came to congratulate him. For a sect to have two Immortal Emperors was indeed an incredible thing. And at this moment, Yu Qingzi, who was chatting with Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, did not know that a god of death had already arrived outside the Ice Wind Sect. Qin Yu's figure was faintly discernible within the endless mist surrounding the Ice Wind Sect. together with Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. Let's wait for a while. Qin Yu's immortal consciousness immediately discovered that Yu Qingzi and Immortal Emperor Yu Fan were together. He didn't want the process of killing Yu Qingzi to be too troublesome. At this moment, a white-clothed woman walked over. This white-clothed woman looked very cold. Her hair was coiled up with only a jade hairpin. May I ask what Senior is doing here? If Senior wants to enter my Ice Wind sect, you can let me inform you. The white-clothed woman was slightly respectful towards Qin Yu. Obviously, it was because she couldn't see through Qin Yu's cultivation. Qin Yu smiled and said, "No need." The white-clothed female was puzzled. Usually, there would be many people standing outside the Ice Wind sect in order to pay respects to the Ice Wind sect. However, she was able to tell that Qin Yu was an extremely powerful expert. Why would such an expert pay homage to the Ice Wind sect? Then Junior won't disturb Senior. If Senior wants to enter, I'll have to trouble you to go through the main entrance. That's because my Ice Wind sect has a sect protecting great array surrounding it. You can't enter from other places. The white-clothed female said respectfully. Qin Yu smiled and looked towards the white-clothed female. Do you think that I can't tell that there's a sect protecting great array surrounding it? The white-clothed female was slightly embarrassed. Indeed, with Qin Yu's strength, he could tell with a glance that the Ice Wind sect was surrounded by a great array protecting it. One could only enter and exit from the main entrance. Then Junior will take her leave. The white-clothed female then retreated. However, she felt helpless in her heart. It was indeed a bit strange for such an expert to pay respects to the buildings outside the Ice Wind sect, as if he was a nobody who had never seen the world. Qin Yu was calmly standing within the mist. Every once in a while, Qin Yu would use his immortal awareness to investigate the Ice Wind sect. This sect protecting Great Formation Array surrounded the Ice Wind sect. Qin Yu was unable to directly teleport into the Ice Wind sect, and could only charge in from the main entrance. It's about time. Qin Yu's eyes shined. Qin Yu's immortal consciousness very clearly discovered that at this moment, Yu Qingzi had already left Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's residence and returned to his own place. Yu Qingzi last time, you and Immortal Emperor Qianqi led dozens of level 9 golden immortals and 200 level 8 golden immortals to surround and kill me. You even caused the death of my foolish disciple. Today, it's time for you to pay your debt. Qin Yu's gaze turned cold as he directly walked towards the main entrance of the Ice Wind sect. In all directions of the Ice Wind sect, only the main entrance was not blocked by a great array. However, if outsiders wanted to enter, they had to at least report and obtain permission before they could enter. However, the disciples of the Ice Wind sect could enter and leave as they pleased. That inexplicable expert is here? The white-clothed female who had asked Qin Yu earlier was standing beside the main entrance. Seeing Qin Yu walking over, she couldn't help but look towards Qin Yu. 1 step, 2 steps. Qin Yu approached the main entrance. Senior. The white-clothed female took a step forward and was about to speak. However, whoosh! Qin Yu's figure suddenly turned into an afterimage. With a speed that the white-clothed female couldn't react to, he directly charged into the main entrance. Seeing this scene, the white-clothed female was slightly startled. Then she reacted. There's an enemy. Following the white-clothed female's loud shout, the entire Ice Wind sect couldn't help but panic. Times his figure was like a blue phantom, faintly discernible. He nimbly passed through the buildings, and in a blink of an eye, he arrived at Yu Qingzi's residence. Not good. When Qin Yu had just charged into the Ice Wind sect with extreme speed, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan had already discovered him. With a movement of his body, he disappeared from his residence. Mother! An adorable youth with a rosy complexion heard the commotion outside, and an excited expression appeared on his face. Xiao Xian, you're not allowed to go out. Immortal Emperor Bing Lian coldly shouted. Soon after, she dashed out like lightning. With Qin Yu's speed, Yu Qingzi had only just discovered that someone had charged in from the main entrance of the Ice Wind sect, when he discovered that the enemy had already arrived before him. Yu Qingzi's first reaction was to unleash his domain, and abruptly began to restrict the enemy's movements. A set of top-grade immortal armor appeared on the surface of Yu Qingzi's body, He also held a top-grade immortal sword in his hand. While dodging, he immediately sent a sound transmission. Who are you, fellow Taoist? I don't seem to have any grievances with you. Qin Yu sensed that his movements were obstructed and coldly snorted, unleashing his domain. Emperor-level expert. Yu Qingzi's face turned cold. He sensed that the enemy was currently fighting over the control of the surrounding space with him. At this moment, Yu Qingzi showed no mercy and immediately attacked with his sword. Yu Qingzi, prepare to die. Qin Yu angrily shouted through sound transmission. The black hole within Qin Yu's dantian began to rotate in the opposite direction. Following the rotation, the surrounding space also began to vibrate. Yu Qingzi sensed that something was wrong. Following the rapid rotation of the black hole, a golden energy of the black hole began to rapidly shoot out from the other side of Qin Yu's dantian. Following the passage formed by the life elemental energy, a golden afterimage rapidly passed through the passage and shot out in the direction of Qin Yu's index finger. Lu Xing's fourth finger technique. Sky-piercing finger. Bang! An intense vibration sounded, and Yu Qingzi was thrown to the other side. As for Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, he was standing in front of him. In an instant earlier, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan appeared in front of Yu Qingzi and blocked Qin Yu's sky-piercing finger. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was originally very close to Yu Qingzi's residence. When Qin Yu arrived at Yu Qingzi's residence, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan had already arrived. It's just that Immortal Emperor Yu Fan did not attack. When Qin Yu used the sky-piercing finger, the surrounding space started to vibrate with Qin Yu as the center. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan sensed that something was wrong and felt that Yu Qingzi would most likely not be able to block it. Thus, he immediately pushed Yu Qingzi away and blocked the attack. Fellow Taoist, who exactly are you? At this moment, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was also shocked. He was prepared to block the attack. However, even though he was prepared, the immortal elemental energy that enveloped the top-quality immortal sword was completely scattered by the sky-piercing finger. Even the top-quality immortal sword was nearly shattered. I am the one who seeks revenge. When Qin Yu saw Immortal Emperor Yu Fan appear, he knew that it would be a bit troublesome to kill Yu Qingzi. Of course, it's only a bit troublesome. A level 6 Immortal Emperor was not a match for Qin Yu. However, a level 6 Immortal Emperor would also not be able to do anything to Qin Yu. With Qin Yu's defense, he would definitely be able to kill Yu Qingzi under the protection of Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. Who dares to behave atrociously in my Ice Wind sect? A cold shout sounded. A battle suit that seemed to be made of profound ice wrapped around the body of a noble and unsullied beauty. That woman was currently standing several tens of meters to the left of Qin Yu. In an instant, several great experts had gathered in the small courtyard. Qin Yu's lips slightly curled upwards. Qin Yu was very clear about the might of the sky-piercing finger. It was about the same as the divine sword Heaven Piercer's close-range attack. After all, the sky-piercing finger was only condensed energy, after being accelerated by the black hole, and adding on Qin Yu's understanding of space, it was already very impressive for it to have such might. However, Qin Yu's strongest attack was not this. When Yu Qingzi saw that Immortal Emperor Yu Fan and Immortal Emperor Bing Lian had appeared, his heart calmed down a lot. Immediately, he stood beside Immortal Emperor Yu Fan and coldly shouted at Qin Yu. Who are you? What enmity do I have with you? Why do you want to kill me? What enmity? You will know when you die. Qin Yu sneered. Boasting shamelessly, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan coldly said, I can see that you are also an Immortal Emperor level expert. I can't bear for you to lose your 10 million years of bitter cultivation in a single day. If you explain the matter clearly, I can still be a mediator and resolve the enmity between you and Yu Qingzi. It was very difficult to reach the level of Immortal Emperor. Furthermore, Immortal Emperor level experts would only befriend Immortal Emperor level experts. Killing one of them might provoke a group of Immortal Emperors. Therefore, to Immortal Emperors, if they could resolve their enmity peacefully, they would do so. Resolve. When Qin Yu heard what Immortal Emperor Yu Fan said, his heart burned with even more fury. Would resolving the matter be able to revive his only disciple? When Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, Yu Qingzi, and Immortal Emperor Bing Lian saw that Qin Yu was silent. They quietly waited for Qin Yu's reply. If they could avoid fighting, they would try their best not to. Furthermore, Qin Yu's sky-piercing finger earlier had also displayed his strength. Whoosh! Qin Yu's figure suddenly charged forward. You're courting death. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan also charged toward Qin Yu. When he saw Qin Yu's action, he already knew of Qin Yu's decision. Either you die or I die. As a subordinate of Emperor Yu, how could Immortal Emperor Yu Fan not help Yu Qingzi? Attack! Yu Qingzi and Immortal Emperor Bing Lian's expression both turned cold. At the same time they attacked Qin Yu. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's right palm emitted a dazzling golden light. Mysterious talisman seals were engraved on his right palm. The seals contained power that caused one's heart to tremble. The Heavenly Fan Seal Technique, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's famous consummate skill. As for Qin Yu, his index finger was already pointing toward Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, who had tasted the sky-piercing finger, knew how powerful Qin Yu's finger was. Thus, he couldn't help but increase his attack power to the maximum. In an instant, the radiance from Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's right palm even surpassed the sun. One palm. One finger. One palm against one finger. Who was stronger? Bang! Strangely, at the instant when the two palms collided, Qin Yu waved his arm. His finger actually let go of his opponent's palm attack, and allowed his opponent's palm attack to land on his chest. Although Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was astonished, he was ruthless in his heart. You dare to take my palm attack head-on? You're courting death. That golden palm heavily landed on Qin Yu's chest. Following the power of the palm, Qin Yu's body moved in an arc and actually charged toward Qin Yu. How is this possible? Immortal Emperor Yu Fan found this hard to believe. At the beginning, when he received Qin Yu's finger attack, he knew of Qin Yu's strength. He simply did not believe that Qin Yu would be able to take his palm attack head-on and not die. Qin Yu's complexion turned cold. In a blink of an eye, the injury on his chest was healed by the elemental life power. At the moment when Qin Yu used his body to block that palm attack, the black hole within his body had already started to rotate in the opposite direction. With Qin Yu as the center, the surrounding space started to vibrate. A golden blur with a terrifying speed passed through the black hole and shot out from Qin Yu's index finger. In the courtyard, Qin Yu had almost just received that palm attack. His entire body pointed his index finger at Yu Qingzi. The golden blur shot out at an astonishing speed, drawing a dazzling trajectory. Sky-piercing finger. When Qin Yu pointed his finger at Yu Qingzi, his eyes were closed. His consciousness completely controlled the trajectory of that sky-piercing finger. At that moment, Qin Yu's soul could clearly feel the fluctuation of the universe space. Qin Yu's sky-piercing finger also moved slightly along with the fluctuation. The might of the sky-piercing finger had reached its maximum level. Yu Qingzi waved his sword in an attempt to block. Bang! The golden blur brushed past the top-grade immortal sword and shot into Yu Qingzi's abdomen. Too fast. So fast that even Yu Qingzi's immortal sword did not touch the sky-piercing finger. The sky-piercing finger directly pierced through the top-grade immortal armor on Yu Qingzi's body. At the same time, it pierced through Yu Qingzi's yuanying. Yu Qingzi, do you still remember that night on Amber Moon Star? That night, your people killed my disciple. And today I will kill you. Don't worry, not only you, that immortal Emperor Qian Qi will accompany you one day. When the souls started to disperse, Qin Yu's voice sounded in Yu Qingzi's mind. You are. Yu Qingzi's eyes widened. Soon after, his body collapsed. Yu Qingzi died on the spot. Coldly looking at Yu Qingzi, who died with his eyes wide open, Qin Yu thought of Lu Honshu. Foolish disciple, that night, the three immortal emperors will all be buried with you. None of them will be able to escape. Now there is only one left. Qin Yu disappeared from the scene in an instant. When Immortal Emperor Bing Lian and Immortal Emperor Yu Fan saw Yu Qingzi collapse and Qin Yu disappear, they were slightly startled. After a short moment, the two of them reacted. Close the interstellar conveying array. Do not allow anyone to escape. Immortal Emperor Bing Lian took out her transmission spiritual pearl. Chase. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan coldly shouted. He immediately rushed out of Ice Wind Sect. Chapter 371. The cold wind whistled, and his vision was filled with boundless black ice. You want to chase me? Qin Yu turned his head and glanced in the direction of the Ice Imperial City. Back then, even the white-haired blood demon found it difficult to catch up to me. Although I was in the body of a sword immortal puppet at that time, the current me is not much weaker than a sword immortal puppet. Qin Yu was at the intermediate black hole realm. However, in terms of body, even that 6th grade Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was no match for Qin Yu. In addition, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan didn't even have a single divine tool. It was normal for him to be left behind by Qin Yu. As expected, the interstellar teleportation array has been shut down. With a sweep of his immortal senses, Qin Yu discovered that the interstellar teleportation array was completely shut down. If he didn't have a special spell to activate it, he wouldn't be able to use the interstellar teleportation array, no matter how powerful he was. Looks like I can only use greater teleportation. Qin Yu relied on the map provided by Ao Wuming to know the location of the major planets around the White Ice Star. Don't even think of leaving. A furious shout was heard. A palm silhouette once again came striking over. The person who came was Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. Seeing the sudden appearance of Immortal Emperor Lu Xing, Qin Yu was astonished. How is this possible? I have already restrained my power, and my soul has also fused with the tear of Lu Xing. How is it possible for this Immortal Emperor Yu Fan to discover me? He couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he tried, but he couldn't afford to be in a daze right now. A divine sword appeared under Qin Yu's feet. Suddenly, he turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the horizon. Qin Yu didn't dare to use greater teleportation in the battlefield. Trying to escape? Humph! Even if you were able to escape from the hands of Emperor Yu, Mystic Emperor in them, you can forget about escaping from my hands. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan looked at the location where Qin Yu disappeared to and laughed coldly. Immediately after, he chased after Qin Yu again. Bing Lian, you don't have to chase. Just leave it to me. At the same time, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan sent a voice transmission to Immortal Emperor Bing Lian. Immortal Emperor Bing Lian, who had chased after Yu Qingzi, stopped immediately. Big brother, if that guy is very powerful, then it would be better for him to send a transmission to Emperor Yu. Furthermore, we must also report the death of Yu Qingzi to Emperor Yu. Alright, I know. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan took out his transmission spiritual pearl. As he chased after Qin Yu, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan began to send a transmission to Emperor Yu. Times go. When Qin Yu saw that he had already left Immortal Emperor Yu Fan far behind, he immediately used greater teleportation and disappeared within the endless cold wind. The target of Qin Yu's greater teleportation was a planet that was relatively far from the White Ice Star, the Green Tree Star. The Green Tree Star and the White Ice Star were in the same galaxy, and they were separated by more than 10 planets. On the Green Tree Star, there were many trees. Each tree was over 100 meters tall. The entire Green Tree Star was filled with endless greenery. It was very mystical. This is really strange. How did this Immortal Emperor Yu Fan know where I am? Qin Yu stood on the crown of a large tree. His heart was filled with confusion. Even Emperor Yu, Shuetianya, and the others were unable to discover me when I was restraining my aura. How did this Immortal Emperor Yu Fan discover me? With Lu Xing's tear, Qin Yu had always been proud of his concealment skills. And now, it was discovered by that Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. How could Qin Yu not be puzzled and distressed? Could it be that Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was a blind cat, trying to catch a dead mouse, and coincidentally saw me? The more Qin Yu thought about it, the more he thought so. Amen, it must be like that. He must have just been lucky. Suddenly, a figure shot over rapidly from afar. Qin Yu's sensitive immortal awareness immediately discovered the person who had arrived. The person who had arrived was actually Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. How is this possible? Qin Yu was immediately dumbfounded. He had used greater teleportation to the Green Tree Star. How did this Immortal Emperor Yu Fan know that he was on the Green Tree Star? A golden ray of light shot toward Qin Yu immediately dodged it. That was the immortal sword that belonged to immortal Emperor Yufan. Qin Yu did not wish to fight with this level 6 immortal emperor at all. Kill a level 6 immortal emperor? Qin Yu knew that his strength was still insufficient. No matter if it was his control over domain, or his attack power, there was a gap between them. In the Ice Wind sect, his opponent was able to block his sky-piercing finger with merely a top-quality immortal sword. One could imagine the gap between their strengths. Who are you? Why do you want to kill Yu Qingzi? If you have the ability and courage, then report your name. Immortal Emperor Yufan shouted via voice transmission. In reality, Immortal Emperor Yufan was also having a headache. This guy's escaping speed is truly fast. It is truly difficult for me to catch him. Seems like I can only let green-blooded sword immortal Emperor Yu and the others take action. Unfortunately, Emperor Yu is still in his lair, and is a few star fields away from here. He won't be able to rush over in a short period of time. Immortal Emperor Yufan was helpless. Right now, he only wanted to know Qin Yu's name, so that he could chase after Qin Yu and kill him in the future. As Qin Yu fled, he sent a voice transmission at the same time. Yufan, are you stupid? You even want me to report my name. If you have the ability, then find out who I am yourself. Goodbye. Qin Yu once again shook Immortal Emperor Yufan off with his speed. This bastard. Immortal Emperor Yufan was also furious. Since his speed was unable to catch up to Yufan, what could he do? Qin Yu flew far away in a single breath. After shaking Immortal Emperor Yufan off, he saw that the surrounding space had stabilized. Then he used greater teleportation, and once again escaped far away. If he were to catch up to me again, then this matter would truly be strange. Qin Yu sat on a rock. His heart was filled with helplessness. However, he had spread out his immortal awareness to see if Immortal Emperor Yufan would chase after him again. In merely an instant, a person suddenly appeared several hundred miles away. Clearly, it was also a sacred ability that was related to greater teleportation. Immortal Emperor Yufan, he chased after me again? Qin Yu felt an incomparable headache. What exactly was going on? However, before he could ponder any further, that Immortal Emperor Yufan had already arrived beside Qin Yu. If I don't kill you, I truly won't be able to calm down. Qin Yu's heart was filled with anger. Qin Yu pointed with one hand. A golden afterimage suddenly shot out. Following a straight trajectory, it shot toward Immortal Emperor Yufan at an extremely fast speed. That golden afterimage was also extremely strange. Although it appeared to be a straight line, when one looked at it, one would always feel that it was faintly discernible. Break. Immortal Emperor Yufan pointed with one hand. The tip of his sword actually just happened to touch the golden afterimage. His body merely trembled slightly and broke through Qin Yu's attack. Your comprehension towards domain is not bad. Unfortunately, compared to me, it's still far from enough. Immortal Emperor Yufan said with a smile. That sword strike of his earlier did not appear to be fast. However, it blocked the extremely fast sky-piercing finger. This was the disparity between realms. This time, when Immortal Emperor Yufan saw that Qin Yu actually did not escape immediately, he could not help but be secretly delighted. However, he himself rapidly flew toward Qin Yu. At the same time, he unleashed his domain. The might of a domain was related to its range. With Immortal Emperor Yufan's strength, if he were to unleash a domain with a range of several thousand miles, although it would appear to be pretty good, in reality, it would not pose much of a threat to the people within the domain. On the contrary, if Immortal Emperor Yufan were to only unleash a domain with a range of 100 meters, the domain would be very small, and would pose a much greater threat to the people within the domain. However, if the domain was small, it would be very difficult to make the enemy within the domain. This time, Qin Yu did not escape. Instead, he attacked. This caused the distance between the two to be very close. You're still thinking of escaping this time? A trace of ruthlessness appeared in Immortal Emperor Yufan's eyes. Qin Yu immediately sensed that the surrounding space seemed to have turned into a swamp. His movements were greatly restricted. Stepping on Divine Sword Sky Piercer. Run. Don't even think of escaping this time. You dared to kill the subordinates of Emperor Yu. You're courting death. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan rushed over rapidly. His speed was even faster than Qin Yu's. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's speed was not restricted. Qin Yu's speed was restricted. The result was obvious. You want to chase after me? Qin Yu also tried in vain to unleash his domain. However, in terms of the understanding of space, Qin Yu was far inferior to Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, who was already a level 6 Immortal Emperor. He was simply unable to use his own domain to shake his opponent's domain. Seeing that the distance between the two was rapidly closing, Qin Yu grew anxious. Humph humph. Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Earlier, when you saw me, you actually didn't escape and instead met me head-on. This is the biggest mistake you've made in your entire life. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's left hand flickered with golden light. The immortal sword beneath his feet was also flickering with golden light. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was extremely confident. This time, he would definitely be able to capture Qin Yu. However, a gravitational force much stronger than the binding of a domain suddenly descended. This gravitational force was so strong that it caused the unprepared Immortal Emperor Yu Fan to suddenly sink. In an instant he smashed onto the ground. Qin Yu took this opportunity to escape the range of the domain. Oh, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan could only look on helplessly as Qin Yu disappeared. Gravitational domain, it's actually the gravitational domain. Could it be that this Qin Yu is someone from the Dark Star Realm? Other than the Dark Star Realm, there shouldn't be any other place that's proficient in gravitational domain. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's expression was solemn. As a level 6 Immortal Emperor, he knew a lot about the entire Immortal, Devil and Demon realm. An Emperor-level expert from the Dark Star Realm actually came to kill Yu Qingzi. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan knew how serious this matter was. When did Yu Qingzi provoke someone from the Dark Star Realm? I must inform His Majesty about this matter. No, before that I must first capture that murderer. I must clarify this matter. At this moment, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's state of mind was completely different. Earlier, he only wanted to kill Qin Yu. But now, even if Qin Yu didn't attack, he, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, did not dare to kill Qin Yu. In terms of protecting their clansmen, compared to the Demon Realm's Dragon Clan, the legendary people of the Dark Star Realm were even more protective of their clansmen. If anyone dared to kill one of their clansmen, it was likely that the experts of the Dark Star Realm would immediately attack. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan still remembered that back then, an Immortal Emperor under the Mystic Emperor had killed someone from the Dark Star Realm who possessed the strength of a Golden Immortal. In the end, the Mystic Emperor was forced to hand that Immortal Emperor over to the Dark Star Realm to be dealt with as they wished. Fortunately, the people from the Dark Star Realm did not like to get involved in the matters of the Immortal Realm, Devil Realm and Demon Realm. Otherwise, who knows how chaotic the Immortal, Devil and Demon Realm would be. Qin Yu once again used greater teleportation to escape to a new planet. My understanding of space is far inferior to this Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. The difference in strength between our domains is actually this big. In his domain, I can only rely on this gravitational domain. Qin Yu was filled with helplessness. At the same time, Qin Yu was still carefully observing with his immortal awareness. Sure enough, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan had also used greater teleportation to arrive here. Without the slightest hesitation, Qin Yu immediately controlled the Divine Sword Sky Piercer to escape. Friend from the Dark Star Realm, I don't know how Yu Qingzi provoked you for you to want to kill him. Rest assured, I will not attack him. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's voice transmission sounded in Qin Yu's mind. If I don't attack, whoever believes me is an idiot. Qin Yu instead increased his speed and escaped. After shaking off Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, he immediately used greater teleportation and arrived at another planet. Only after arriving at a new planet did Qin Yu react. He called me a friend from the Dark Star Realm? Qin Yu was startled. Dark Star Realm? Why would he think that I'm someone from the Dark Star Realm? When mentioning the Dark Star Realm, Qin Yu recalled the map that Ao Wuming had given him. The map that Ao Wuming had given him was made with the utmost effort of the Dragon Clan. The routes to almost all of the places in the immortal devil and demon realm were all on the map. Of course, it was only almost. Not all places were completely covered. There was a place that was not covered. Dark Star Realm. In the immortal, devil and demon realm, 20% belonged to the immortal realm, 20% belonged to the devil realm, and 50% belonged to the demon realm. The remaining 10% belonged to the legendary Dark Star Realm. The Dark Star Realm that was not famous at all. Under normal circumstances, the people from the Dark Star Realm would not leave the Dark Star Realm. People from the outside world were also not allowed to enter the Dark Star Realm. Even ordinary immortal emperors only knew that there was a mysterious region in the immortal, devil and demon realm that one could not enter. However, those immortal emperors with ordinary status did not know that this mysterious region was called the Dark Star Realm. I'm someone from the Dark Star Realm? How come I don't know about it myself? Qin lightly smiled. The interstellar map that Ao Wuming had given him did not have much of an introduction to the Dark Star Realm. It only had a single sentence: do not enter the Dark Star Realm. The meaning of the people from the Dragon Clan was very clear. If one does not enter the Dark Star Realm, one would not provoke the people from the Dark Star Realm. After all, the people from the Dark Star Realm, unless they had no other choice, they would not leave the Dark Star Realm. Regardless of this matter, why is that immortal Emperor Yufan always able to find me? Qin pondered. Friend from the Dark Star Realm. He's here again. Right after hearing the voice transmission in his mind, Qin immediately controlled the divine sword Sky Piercer and began to flee. While fleeing, Qin was still pondering as to why this immortal Emperor Yufan would always be able to find him. After continuously using greater teleportation on 3 planets, I finally arrived at the extreme northwest of the Drifting Wind Galaxy. This place is the closest to the border of the Angelica Dahirica Galaxy. I should be able to use greater teleportation in one go. According to the map, Qin knew that this place was the closest to the border between the Drifting Wind Galaxy and the Angelica Dahirica Galaxy. As they were about to arrive at the Angelica Dahirica Galaxy, Qin heart had calmed down a bit. It was as Qin had anticipated. Right after Qin stopped for a short while, that immortal Emperor Yufan had already appeared on this planet. Friend from the Dark Star Realm, said immortal Emperor Yufan with a smile on his face. Hey, shut up. Qin extended his hand and said, this northwest side is the Angelica Dahirica Galaxy. The Angelica Dahirica Galaxy is the Cyan Emperor's galaxy. Well then, I shall take my leave. After saying those words, Qin stepped onto the divine sword Sky Piercer and began to rapidly flee. After a short moment, Qin used greater teleportation and left the Drifting Wind Galaxy. He arrived at the Cyan Emperor's territory, the Angelica Dahirica Galaxy. The Cyan Emperor's territory. Immortal Emperor Yufan slightly frowned. He remembered Emperor Yu's instructions from back then. If there's nothing important, do not fight in the Cyan Emperor's territory. For the time being, I do not wish to become enemies with the Cyan Emperor. I won't fight. It should be fine for me to chase after you, right? Immortal Emperor Yufan immediately used greater teleportation and chased after Qin. Chapter 372. The Angelica Dahirica Galaxy was a galaxy located in the western region of the Plate Egg Star Field. The core planet of this Angelica Dahirica Galaxy was the Jade Wave Star. As for the planet that Qin had just stepped into, it was not far from the Jade Wave Star. With a greater teleportation, he appeared in the Angelica Dahirica Galaxy. Qin mind that had been in a mess the entire time suddenly had a flash of inspiration. A palm strike. That's right. From the beginning to the end, the only time that I truly came into contact with this immortal Emperor Yufan was that palm strike. Qin immediately lowered his head to look. He was unable to see anything special on his chest. Qin began to carefully inspect the surface of the clothes on his chest with his immortal awareness. An extremely tiny golden speck was stuck onto Qin's body. It was so much so that Qin was unable to sense any sort of energy reaction from this golden speck. If it wasn't for the fact that he suspected that he was being followed, Qingyu would have only thought that this golden speck was a speck of dust. Chi. A sharp black hole energy rushed out from Qingyu's body and directly attacked that golden speck. After being attacked by the black hole energy, the golden speck actually started to shine. Qingyu was shocked to discover that the talisman seal patterns that had appeared on Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's palm had actually appeared outside of the golden speck. The attack failed. This energy is truly strange. My attack was actually unable to eliminate it. Qingyu was unable to refrain his shock. Qingyu knew very well how powerful the black hole energy's attack was. However, he was actually unable to eliminate this strange golden speck. Could this be the miraculous aspect of Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's Heavenly Fan Seal technique? Normally, I would not be able to sense any energy from this golden speck. However, when I attacked it, it actually exploded with so much energy. Qingyu was shocked. However, he was not nervous. How could a flame without a source last for a long time? Friend from the Dark Star Realm, I would like to trouble you to have a chat with me. I will definitely not approach you. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan once again used greater teleportation to appear. When Immortal Emperor Yu Fan saw Qingyu attacking the fan seal, that was unique to the Heavenly Fan Seal technique, he already knew about it. You're truly senseless. Qingyu felt a bit helpless in his heart. He did not wish to hide in the Jianglan's realm and waste time. Even if he were to pick up the heaven-splitting divine sword and fight against his opponent, Qingyu knew that the probability of victory was very low. Fortunately, Qingyu had now discovered the reason why he was being chased by the other party. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, your Heavenly Fan Seal technique is indeed powerful. Qingyu let out a rare laugh, and in one breath, he sent out several black holes to attack the Brahma seal. When Immortal Emperor Yu Fan saw this scene, he knew that he would no longer be able to catch up to the person before him. Friend from the Dark Star Realm, can you tell me exactly what sort of enmity you have with Yu Qingzi? Immortal Emperor Yu Fan displayed a friendly smile on his face. He tried his best to make himself appear cordial. However, Qingyu did not mind in the slightest. Instead, he looked at Immortal Emperor Yu Fan with a confused expression. Enmity, why must I tell you? You. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's face turned red. Qingyu's earlier words clearly contained ridicule. How could Immortal Emperor Yu Fan not be able to tell that? Ah, it's finally been eliminated. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan, to be honest, I admire your ultimate move. I reckon that there aren't many people in the immortal realm that know how to use it. Qingyu patted the clothes on his chest. Brahma seal, although it was hard to eliminate, it possessed a lot of energy. However, after being continuously attacked by Qingyu, its energy was being consumed unceasingly. In the end, it let out a very light bang sound and dissipated. Sigh, friend from the Dark Star Realm, I know that there are some enmity between you and Yu Qingzi. However, it's better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. If you were to explain the matter clearly, then His Majesty Emperor, you would definitely magnanimously resolve this matter. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan tried his best to persuade Qingyu. At this point, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan knew that it would be difficult for him to catch up to Qingyu. Magnanimously resolve this matter? Is Emperor Yu that good? Qingyu had a trace of ridicule in his eyes. No matter how magnanimous Emperor Yu was, it would still be impossible for him to let go of the Bewitching God painting in his possession. For the Bewitching God painting, Emperor Yu had even directly fallen out with Xue Tianya and fought him. From this, it could be seen how much Emperor Yu coveted the Bewitching God painting. His Majesty Emperor Yu is magnanimous. He would definitely not. Seeing that Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was still trying to persuade him, Qingyu hurriedly extended his hand and said carelessly, Enough. I don't have time to waste words with you. Farewell. After saying that, Qingyu rapidly flew out. After that, he used greater teleportation and disappeared. Qingyu's next destination was the Jade Wave Star. The Jade Wave Star was the core planet of the Angelica Dahirica galaxy. Naturally, there were a lot of interstellar conveying arrays on this planet. With developed transportation, there were many interstellar conveying arrays that led to other galaxies. Friend from the Dark Star Realm, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan wanted to chase after Qin Yu. It would seem that I can only have Emperor Yu personally resolve this matter. I wonder where he is now. When he was on the White Ice Star, he had wanted to send a transmission to Emperor Yu. Unfortunately, he did not succeed. That was because the distance between him and Emperor Yu was too far. Only by entering the messaging maze formation would he be able to successfully send a transmission. In the end, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan had Immortal Emperor Bing Lian report this matter to Emperor Yu. From the transmission that Immortal Emperor Bing Lian sent to him, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan knew that when the transmission was sent, Emperor Yu was still in his lair. At that time, Emperor Yu had already set off. With Emperor Yu's speed, he would likely be able to pass through 1 or 2 star fields in such a long period of time. Suddenly, an immortal awareness that covered the sky and covered the earth spread over from the west. It passed through the outer space and descended upon the planet that Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was on. That enormous immortal awareness immediately locked onto Immortal Emperor Yu Fan. Yu Fan! An indifferent voice sounded in Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's mind. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's heart trembled. He had only just come into contact with the other party's immortal awareness and was able to sense how powerful the other party was. It was a power that surpassed his imagination. The other party was definitely able to crush him to death like crushing an ant. May I know who Senior is? At this moment, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan still did not know which mysterious expert was actually able to pass through the outer space and cover him. Cyan Emperor. It was still an indifferent voice. When Immortal Emperor Yu Fan heard the 2 words Cyan Emperor, he felt powerless all over his body. Faced with this Cyan Emperor, who had cultivated for an extremely long time, Immortal Emperor Yu Fan could only respectfully say, "May I know why Senior is looking for this junior? Yu Fan, you don't have to chase after that person from earlier." Cyan Emperor said indifferently. "Senior Cyan Emperor, that person killed Yu Qingzi, one of the 36 rulers under Emperor Yu." Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was not someone who would easily back off. "He killed Yu Qingzi. How could I possibly give up like this?" Although Immortal Emperor Yu Fan said those words, he was actually unable to chase after that person even if he wanted to. "Yu Fan, with that person's ability, I reckon that you would not be able to catch up to him even if you wanted to. The reason why I told you not to chase after him was also because I wanted you to tell Emperor Yu to not touch that person in my territory. As for what you all can do after leaving my territory, I will not care what you all do." Cyan Emperor's voice clearly sounded in Immortal Emperor Yu Fan's mind. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was puzzled. Why would Cyan Emperor involve himself in this matter? Could it be that this person from the Dark Star realm possessed an extraordinary status? Senior Cyan Emperor. This junior is unable to promise Senior on behalf of His Majesty Emperor Yu. However, this junior is able to help pass on these words to His Majesty Emperor Yu. As for what His Majesty Emperor Yu will do, this junior is unable to guarantee. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was very respectful. "Amen, you merely need to pass on the message." Cyan Emperor's voice was faintly discernible. "Remember, it's best to leave the Angelica de Hurica galaxy in a while." Yes. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan did not dare to refuse. Times traveling through the night, Emperor Yu was rushing toward the Plate Egg Star field unceasingly. When Yu Qingzi was killed, Immortal Emperor Bing Lian had used the Ice Wind Sex Transmission Secret Array to send a transmission to Emperor Yu. At that time, Emperor Yu had felt that this matter was very troublesome. Furthermore, the green-blooded sword immortal was not present, and even Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was unable to handle this matter. After all, Yu Qingzi was one of the 36 rulers under his command. At the same time, Yu Qingzi was also the leader of Emperor Yu's only power in the Indigo Bay star field. In the Indigo Bay star field, only the Silver Stream star field belonged to Emperor Yu's territory. The power that controlled that place was precisely the Jade Sword School. Emperor Yu's speed of travel was very fast. For most of the journey, he had used greater teleportation. Only for places that were further away, he had used interstellar conveying arrays. With the combination of greater teleportation and interstellar conveying arrays, Emperor Yu had managed to travel nearly half the distance in an instant. On a barren planet, Emperor Yu's figure suddenly stopped. What? Didn't manage to catch him? Emperor Yu held onto his transmission spiritual pearl and started to frown. At this moment, immortal Emperor Yu Fan had used greater teleportation and returned to the White Ice Star and Ice Wind sect through the interstellar conveying array. He was currently reporting to Emperor Yu through the Ice Wind sect's transmission secret array. That's right, Your Majesty, that person's speed was extremely fast. This subordinate was also unable to catch up to him. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan replied via transmission. Yu Fan, once your heavenly fan seal technique hit your opponent, wouldn't the fan seal be attached to the enemy's body? How come you were unable to catch up to him? Emperor Yu was very clear about this ultimate move of immortal Emperor Yu Fan. When the fan seal was attached to the body, it would not emit the slightest bit of energy. Under normal circumstances, it was simply impossible for one to detect it with their immortal awareness. At the beginning, that person did not discover the fan seal. However, later on, the fan seal was still broken. Your Majesty, this subordinate has a very important matter to report. When immortal Emperor Yu Fan thought of the Dark Star Realm, he started to worry. Oh, what is it? Emperor Yu stood motionlessly on the barren planet. That person who killed Yu Qingzi, I reckon, he should be someone from the Dark Star Realm. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan spoke out his deduction. Emperor Yu's expression slightly changed. Someone from the Dark Star Realm? How did you come to such a conclusion? Your Majesty, when that person was fighting against this subordinate, he actually used the gravitational domain. Your Majesty, you should also know about the gravitational domain. That is a special ability that belongs to the people of the Dark Star Realm. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan spoke out the reason. Emperor Yu's heart moved. When that Bing Lian reported to me, she said that person had once received a palm strike from you. However, he still acted as if nothing had happened and instead killed Yu Qingzi. Is that right? Emperor Yu instead asked about this matter. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan was puzzled as to why Emperor Yu did not mention the matter of the Dark Star Realm and instead talked about the battle. However, he still replied via transmission. Your Majesty, that is precisely the case. Quickly tell me, where is he right now? Emperor Yu immediately sent a transmission. Sensing Emperor Yu's impatience, immortal Emperor Yu Fan immediately replied. Your Majesty, that person has already arrived in the Angelica de Hurica galaxy. Angelica de Hurica galaxy. Emperor Yu frowned. Your Majesty, when we were on the border planet of the Angelica de Hurica galaxy, Cyan Emperor's immortal awareness passed through the cosmic space and directly sent a voice transmission to this subordinate, telling this subordinate to leave the Angelica de Hurica galaxy. At the same time, he also told this subordinate to pass a message to Your Majesty. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan did not dare to conceal this matter. Speak. Your Majesty, Cyan Emperor said that he hoped that Your Majesty would not act against that person in his territory. As for how Your Majesty wants to deal with that person after leaving Cyan Emperor's territory, Cyan Emperor would not care. Immortal Emperor Yu Fan passed on the message. Oh, Emperor Yu, who originally wanted to immediately depart for the Angelica de Hurica galaxy, stopped. His two thick eyebrows were deeply creased. Yu Fan, be at ease and stay in the Ice Wind sect. Wait for my orders. Soon after, Emperor Yu put away his transmission spiritual pearl. Cyan Emperor also wants to get involved? Emperor Yu carefully pondered in his heart. Cyan Emperor's strength was something that both Emperor Yu and Mystic Emperor deeply feared. 10 million years ago, when Emperor Yu and Mystic Emperor were still nobodies, Cyan Emperor was already a big shot of the immortal realm, a level 8 immortal emperor super expert. After all these years, no one would think that Cyan Emperor had not made any progress. Furthermore, Cyan Emperor from 10 million years ago was already a big shot of the immortal devil and demon realm. What about 10 million years later? Back then, when we were exploring the Bewitching God Temple, Cyan Emperor did not participate. Even when we sent people to the mortal realm, to charge into the Inai Yang realm. Cyan Emperor also did not participate. After all these years, it seems that Cyan Emperor did not have much of an interest in the bewitching god temple. Emperor Yu was unable to understand. Cyan Emperor, who did not have any interest in the bewitching god temple back then. Would he make a move against Qin Yu now to seize the bewitching god painting? He shouldn't. Humph. That old fellow Qi Qing had received a treasure from me back then, and owes me a favor. I have never asked him to return it. Now it's time for him to return it. Emperor Yu then used greater teleportation and disappeared from this barren planet. Times Angelica Dahirica Galaxy, Jade Wave Star. Qin Yu used greater teleportation and stepped onto this planet. His mood was very relaxed. Qin Yu leisurely walked in the endless mountain forests of the Jade Wave Star. Occasionally, immortals would fly past in the sky. You're called Qin Yu, right? An amiable voice sounded in Qin Yu's mind. Qin Yu was slightly startled. Who are you? Earlier, when he used greater teleportation, he had only emitted a little bit of his aura. After that, he immediately retracted his aura. However, he was still discovered by someone. This person's strength was definitely extraordinary. You can call me Cyan Emperor. Qin Yu was slightly startled. The person who transmitted the voice was actually Cyan Emperor. Qin Yu knew that the Angelica Dahirica Galaxy was Cyan Emperor's territory. However, Cyan Emperor possessed many galaxies. His true home was also not in the Angelica Dahirica Galaxy. Qin Yu did not expect Cyan Emperor to be here at all. Senior Cyan Emperor, is there something you need from me? Qin Yu was still slightly polite. If you don't mind, can you make a trip to the Jade Wave Star's Crescent Moon Bay? I have an old friend here who wants to meet you. And I also want to meet you. Cyan Emperor's voice was very amiable. Crescent Moon Bay? Qin Yu recalled the map of the Dragon Race. In the introduction of the Jade Wave Star on the Dragon Race's map, there was a sentence. Crescent Moon Bay, located in the depths of the Jade Wave Star's endless ocean. It was a quiet place where Cyan Emperor occasionally stayed. Junior will come right away. Qin Yu immediately replied respectfully. At the same time, Qin Yu was also puzzled in his heart. Cyan Emperor's old friend wants to meet me? Who is this old friend? Chapter 373. Crescent Moon Bay. A crescent-shaped island in the depths of the Jade Wave Star's boundless ocean. As the residence of the Cyan Emperor, the layout of the Crescent Moon Bay was very special. Qin Yu used his flying technique and arrived above the Crescent Moon Bay in a blink of an eye. As expected, it's a good place. Looking from above, there were blue water, green land, and all kinds of natural flowers and plants. It was like a quiet and elegant world in a painting. Lowering his body, Qin Yu landed on the edge of the Crescent Moon Bay. May I ask if you are fellow Qin Yu? A white-clothed youth walked over with a face full of smiles. I am indeed Qin Yu. I came here on the orders of Senior Cyan Emperor. Qin Yu said very politely. In the immortal devil and demon realm, Qin Yu did not want to provoke people. However, there were some people Qin Yu must provoke. Emperor Yu, Mystic Emperor. These were the last instructions of Immortal Emperor Inai Yang. In addition to the death of his disciple, Qin Yu had decided that he must oppose Emperor Yu. As for the Cyan Emperor, Qin Yu did not want to oppose him. As expected, the Cyan Emperor has a lot of experts under him. A youth is actually a level 7 Immortal Emperor. Truly frightening. Qin Yu felt his heart tremble. A youth from the Crescent Moon Bay had such valiant strength. He was at the same level as the green-blooded sword immortal. The Cyan Emperor's power was truly too frightening. Master is waiting for fellow Qin Yu beside the cold pond. The white-clothed youth immediately said. The smile on his face was very amiable. Fellow Qin Yu, please follow me. Then I'll have to trouble you. Qin Yu followed behind the white-clothed youth. In the boundless ocean of the Jade Wave Star, the Crescent Moon Bay was naturally as small as a small boat. It was as if a wave could cover the entire island. However, the Crescent Moon Bay was actually very large. It had a circumference of nearly 1,000 miles. Following the white-clad young man, Qin Yu passes through a bamboo house, flies over an inner lake, passes through an ocean of pine trees on a small path, and finally walks around various pavilions all the way down. Following a winding corridor, they arrive at the side of a remote cold pond. The cold pond wasn't big, only about 7 to 8 meters wide and 100 meters long. However, the cold pond was extremely cold. Even with Qin Yu's strength, he still shivered when he came here. What was strange was that the cold pond didn't freeze, even though the temperature was so cold. Instead, there were fish swimming in the cold pond. Beside the cold pond, there was only a man in a green robe holding a fishing rod quietly fishing. "Don't disturb, master. Wait a moment." The white-clothed young man tugged at Qin Yu's sleeve and transmitted his voice to him. Qin Yu nodded and waited quietly beside the cold pond. "My name is Qin Yu. May I know who Dao brother is?" Qin Yu felt bored after waiting for a while. Thus, he began to converse with the white-robed youth via voice transmission. My apologies. I have yet to tell you my name. I am Qing Emperor's fourth disciple Song Shi." The white-clothed young man said to Qin Yu with a slightly embarrassed smile. "It's been so long, yet I have yet to tell Dao brother Qin Yu my name. I am truly ashamed." "Dao brother Song Shi, please don't mind." Qin Yu didn't mind at all. Currently, what Qin Yu wanted to know the most was, who exactly was the old friend of Qing Emperor? "Dao brother Song Shi. This time, Qing Emperor asked me to come to the Crescent Moon Bay to meet someone. Do you know who that person is?" Qin Yu asked. From Qin Yu's point of view, Song Shi was after all a level 7 immortal emperor. Presumably, he was Qing Emperor's right-hand man, and should know about this matter. "Dao brother Qin Yu, I truly don't know about this matter. Master will naturally tell you later." Song Shi displayed a simple smile on his face. Qin Yu could only nod his head and quietly wait for Qing Emperor to finish his fishing. After about 2 hours. "Got it." The voice of the green-clothed man sounded. At the same time, he picked up the fishing rod. There was a 6-inch-long fish with 3 silver lines on its back on the hook. "Haha. Since little brother Qin Yu has arrived, my luck has improved. I actually caught a silverlight fish today. Furthermore, it's a level 3 silverlight fish." The green-clothed man put down the fishing rod and turned around. The white-clothed young man smiled and said respectfully, "Normally, Master would need several days to catch a silverlight fish. Today he caught one in a single day. It is indeed rare. Dao brother Qin Yu, this is my master." The white-clothed young man introduced to Qin Yu. The green-clothed man flipped his hand and took out a bamboo flute. He nimbly flipped the flute a few times in his hand. However, his gaze was fixed on Qin Yu. "You are Qin Yu?" Seeing Qing Emperor's expression, he seemed to be very interested in Qin Yu. "Junior is indeed Qin Yu. Greetings, Senior Qing Emperor." Qin Yu cupped his hands and said. Qing Emperor clicked his tongue and said, "I remember that 10 years ago, there was a great battle on the Indigo Bay Starfield's Indigo Snow Star. During that battle, there were 2 people who shouted that immortal Emperor Thunderhammer wanted to kill Qin Yu." Qin Yu was startled. Could it be that Qing Emperor knew about him? After all, according to what Qin Yu knew, Qing Emperor did not send anyone to the mortal realm at that time. That Feng Yu and Xue Tianya were really interesting. They thought that they could easily kill you. Who would have thought that you would actually be able to escape with your life from their hands? Haha. Seeing you today, your reputation is indeed well-deserved. Qing Emperor looked at Qin Yu with admiration. Hearing Qing Emperor's praise, Qin Yu immediately said, "Junior's strength is still far from enough. Being able to escape with my life that day was also due to luck." "Luck? What is luck?" Qing Emperor shook his head. He did not agree with this point. No matter what it is, don't attribute it to luck. For example, opportunity. Even if an opportunity were to appear in front of a person, one must still grasp it. Immortal Emperor Inai Yang's luck was really good. From an ordinary immortal emperor, he became a great emperor of the immortal realm. However, how did he die in the end? Some people say that it was luck, but I say that he was not careful enough. Qing Emperor seemed to be very clear about the cause of immortal Emperor Inai Yang's death. In the Bewitching God Temple, no matter what, one must not be distracted in the slightest. When I was young, there were more than 1 or 2 people who died in the Bewitching God Temple because of a slight distraction. Qing Emperor seemed to be reminiscing about those years. Qing Yu listened carefully. When Qing Emperor was young. What era was that? Qing Emperor's younger generation should have either ascended to the divine realm, failed the divine tribulation and died, or died due to other reasons. Bewitching God Temple, what was that? However, after Qing Yu heard Qing Emperor's words, he began to agree. That immortal emperor in Aiyang always said that his luck was bad. But in reality, immortal emperor in Aiyang obtained the bewitching god painting, 10,000 beasts atlas and so on. How could his luck be bad? Regardless of what it is, one must not lower one's guard. A poisonous insect from the divine realm. Even a person from the divine realm would be injured, let alone an immortal emperor. Even if it's a dead poisonous insect, it's still not good to provoke. In Aiyang, who can you blame for courting death? Qing Emperor muttered to himself. Suddenly, Qing Emperor woke up and looked at Qing Yu. Oh Qing Yu, I was too busy reminiscing about the past and forgot to talk to you. Sigh, when a person gets old he likes to reminisce. Qing Yu was astonished. After meeting Qing Emperor for a while, Qing Yu discovered that this Qing Emperor was not very calm. Instead, he liked to joke and was very humorous. Let's not talk about that idiot in Aiyang anymore. Qing Yu, I'll bring you to meet someone. Qing Emperor said mysteriously. Senior Qing Emperor, who is the good friend you spoke of? Qing Yu was unable to suppress his curiosity and asked. Qing Emperor held the bamboo flute and twirled it a few times. His eyes narrowed into slits as he smiled. Who is it? It's my good friend, of course. Qing Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He stopped asking. Song Shi, quickly arrange a banquet. In the next few days, all of my good friends will be coming. If you neglect your seniors, be careful that I don't confine you for 1,000,000 years. Qing Emperor said to Song Shi with a smile. Master's good friends? Hearing this, Song Shi's face immediately lit up. This disciple will go arrange it immediately. Qing Yu, on the other hand, was shocked. Qing Emperor's good friends, Song Shi, a level 7 immortal emperor, had to address them as seniors? Who were those good friends of his? Qing Yu had a feeling in his heart. Emperor, you shouldn't be among those good friends. Of course, this was only a feeling in Qing Yu's heart. There was no basis for it. Qing Yu, follow me. Qing Emperor smiled as he walked along the cold pond toward the distant winding corridor. Following behind the Cyan Emperor, Qing Yu did not say a single word. He was merely looking at the layout of the various buildings on the Crescent Moon Bay. As he continued to look at the Crescent Moon Bay, he felt that it was very natural and contained an exuberant vitality. Seeing these sceneries, Qing Yu's mood was also very good. Qing Yu, we're about to arrive. Qing Emperor finally spoke. He turned around and said to Qing Yu with a smile. Little brother Qing Yu, when you see that senior, you must know how to respect your seniors. That person is an extraordinary expert. Extraordinary expert? Qing Yu was slightly shocked. He wasn't shocked because that person was an expert. He was shocked because Qing Emperor actually called that person an extraordinary expert. This junior knows. Qing Yu nodded tactfully. Amen. Qing Emperor smiled in satisfaction. He brought Qing Yu to the side of a flower pond. Beside the flower pond, there was a path paved with bluestone. At the end of the flower pond, beside the bluestone path, there was a stone table and a few stone stools. At this moment, an old lady was chatting with a girl. Big sister Silver Flower. The Cyan Emperor cheerfully shouted from afar. That old lady turned around and saw Qing Emperor. She deliberately put on a stern expression and said, You disrespectful old man. At least call me fellow Taoist Silver Flower. Big sister? Seeing this scene, Qing Yu's expression was normal. He was already familiar with Qing Emperor's character from the conversation just now. Madam is also here. Qing Emperor saw the girl beside the old lady and said with a smile. That girl was wearing a purple gown. Her hair was coiled up, and she naturally emitted a graceful and noble aura. The smile on her face made people feel that this noble lady was very easy to approach. You're still like this even though outsiders are here. The purple-gowned noble lady sighed helplessly. Big sister. Ever since Qi Qing came out of seclusion a few days ago, his character became much more glib. What's going on? Sigh. The purple-gowned noble lady said helplessly to the old lady. Madam, Qing Emperor's expression turned serious and became much more relaxed. Madam, isn't it too much to describe me as glib? I just had a breakthrough, and my state of mind changed. All right, let's not talk about it anymore. Big sister Silverflower, didn't you want to meet little brother Qingyu? I've brought him over. Qing Emperor was always smiling amiably. Sometimes when he smiled his eyes would even narrow. To be honest, Qingyu liked Qing Emperor with this kind of character. Qingyu? That old lady looked at Qingyu in surprise. You are Qingyu? At this moment, Qingyu also understood that the reason why the Cyan Emperor wanted him to come over was because this old granny wanted to see him. Hearing how the Cyan Emperor addressed this old granny as Big Sissy Hua, Qingyu thought of a person Granny Hua. This junior is indeed Qingyu. Qingyu said respectfully. Qingyu, Qingyu. The old lady walked to Qingyu's side and carefully sized up Qingyu. Her eyes looked as though she wanted to see through Qingyu for a long time. Strange, strange, strange. The old lady sighed 3 times. Strange. When Qingyu heard this, he couldn't help but feel puzzled. Seeing the puzzled expression on Qingyu's face, the old lady came to a realization and said with a smile, Junior, to have such achievements after cultivating for such a short period of time, you can be considered as an outstanding genius. No wonder Yen'er praised you to me. Hearing the words Yen'er, Qingyu was certain. He immediately smiled and said respectfully, So senior is Granny Hua. You only need to call me Granny. Granny Hua nodded and said with a smile, I've heard others praise you many times. This time, I had Qi Qing bring you here for me to take a look. And, at first glance, you're not bad. Qingyu felt sullen in his heart. Not bad. Qingyu's cultivation time was already astonishingly fast. However, Granny Hua only said not bad. Qingyu listened to Granny. Granny Hua patted Qingyu's shoulder. Granny, please speak. Seeing Granny Hua being so close to him, Qingyu couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. Granny Hua sighed and said, Let's not talk about that girl Yen'er. She doesn't cultivate all day long. Since leaving this time, she hasn't come back to see me even once. With her temperament, I don't have much hope for her. Seeing a young man like you, I want to tell you, you must cultivate seriously. No matter where you are, only with strength will you have authority. I've also heard about your recent actions from Qi Qing. Actually, you're a bit reckless. Granny Hua sighed. Don't think that you won't die just because you have a divine armor. The black frozen snow is only a low-quality divine armor. With your strength, there are no less than 10 people in the immortal, devil and demon realm who can break through this divine armor. Hearing those words, Qingyu was extremely shocked. Not to mention how this Granny Hua knew that he had the divine armor black frozen snow. But according to what Granny Hua said, in the entire immortal devil and demon realm, there were no less than 10 people who could break through a divine armor. Amen. One's own strength is the most important. Cultivate properly. In this immortal devil and demon realm, it's rare to have so many talents. Granny Hua sighed. Yes, this junior will definitely remember. Qingyu was indeed moved. In his heart, he also wanted to reach the late-stage black hole realm in one go, so that he could open the 3rd layer of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. However, in the depths of his heart, he also wanted to see his brother. Qingyu only thought that since he possessed the Jianglan's realm, it would be no problem for him to pass through the immortal realm. Chapter 374. Immortal Realm. Plate Egg Starfield's Jade Wave Star Crescent Moon Bay. Qingyu was currently conversing with Granny Hua. Granny Hua carefully looked at Qingyu a couple times. She then smiled and said, Actually, from the way I see it, having you suffer a couple more hardships is also a great benefit. Growing through the setbacks of battles is much faster than training in seclusion training. Big Sister Hua's words are very reasonable. Back then when I was young, I cultivated to level 8 Immortal Emperor in one go. Practically all of it was through fighting and killing with others. That speed is much faster than the cultivation of these years. Cyan Emperor sighed and said, Qingyu was like a well-behaved junior, nodding his head in agreement. Qi Qing, You are also a person with great fortune. If it was someone else, it would also be impossible for them to be like you. Granny Yinhua said with a smile. Cyan Emperor smiled slightly complacently. That's because I know how to be satisfied. Qin Yu quietly listened at the side. He could tell that the conversation between Granny Yinhua and Cyan Emperor involved the real reason why Cyan Emperor was stuck at level 8 Immortal Emperor for so long. However, Qin Yu was still unable to tell what the reason was. However, Qin Yu was certain of one thing. Cyan Emperor being stuck at level 8 Immortal Emperor for so long was not because he was unlucky, but rather because he was very fortunate. Qin Yu, how is the relationship between that girl Yan and that Junluoyu? Granny Yinhua turned her head and said to Qin Yu. Her eyes were filled with doting. That was doting towards that girl Jiang Yan. Qin Yu smiled and said, Brother Luoyu has already returned to his hometown to cultivate in seclusion. As for Yan, she has also followed him. The relationship between the two of them, I am also unable to explain it clearly. Jiang Yan Junluoyu? Qin Yu really did not know how to explain it in his heart. That Junluoyu only remembered his wife. As for Jiang Yan, he was only concerned about her at most. There was no love at all. As for Jiang Yan, she actually did not bother about it and only stayed by Junluoyu's side. Sigh, what an ill-fated relationship. Granny Yinhua smiled bitterly. Back then, that girl wanted to come to this world to broaden her horizons and begged me many times. In the end, I still agreed. Who would have thought that the moment she stepped into the mortal world, she would be entangled with this Junluoyu? Granny Yinhua also appeared helpless. The purple-robed noblewoman beside Granny Yinhua consoled her. Big sister, don't mind it too much. Just treat it as Yan'er's mortal cultivation. And we can only think of it this way. Granny Yinhua nodded. Immediately after, Granny Yinhua smiled and glanced at Qin Yu. This time, when I came to your Crescent Moon Bay, the thing that made me the happiest was seeing little brother Qin Yu. Indeed, you have potential and hope. It's just that your current strength is still too weak. Granny, I will work hard to cultivate. Qin Yu felt a little strange. Even if this Granny Yinhua knew that he was acquainted with Jiang Yan and might be curious about him, she shouldn't exaggerate to the point that the happiest thing about coming to Crescent Moon Bay was to see him. Wasn't she thinking too highly of him? In the past, he had never seen Granny Yinhua. Qin Yu, stay in Crescent Moon Bay for a few more days. In these few days, Qi Qing's old friends will be coming. You should also meet them. Granny Yinhua smiled and said to Qin Yu. Her eyes were filled with kindness. Big sister Yinhua? Cyan Emperor looked at Granny Yinhua in shock. Others might not know the identity of Cyan Emperor's old friends, but Cyan Emperor himself naturally knew. Knowing the identity of his friends, Cyan Emperor was naturally curious as to why Granny Yinhua would say that. After all, his friends were not people that ordinary people could meet. Granny Yinhua glanced at Cyan Emperor and said with a faint smile, Qin Yu is qualified to meet them. Hearing Granny Yinhua's words, Cyan Emperor no longer refuted. He turned his head and looked at Qin Yu. With a smile he said, Little brother Qin Yu, stay here for a few more days. From the conversation between Cyan Emperor and Granny Yinhua, Qin Yu was able to deduce a few things. Clearly, from Cyan Emperor's point of view, he should not be qualified to meet those people. Qin Yu smiled and said, Seniors, this junior shall not disturb you. No need. You can just come when the time comes. Granny Yinhua said directly. Immediately after, she smiled at Qin Yu. If you don't come when the time comes, Granny will be angry. Qin Yu, since big sister Yinhua has asked you to come, just come. At this moment, Cyan Emperor also urged Qin Yu. Qin Yu felt some warmth in his heart. He immediately nodded and said, It is this junior's fortune to be able to meet those seniors. When the time comes, this junior will definitely be there. Times soon after, Qin Yu was led by a servant to his residence. Cyan Emperor's wife had also left. As for Cyan Emperor and Granny Yinhua, they were chatting beside the flower pond. Their target was Qin Yu. Big sister Yinhua, is it appropriate for you to allow Qin Yu to come? Cyan Emperor asked back. Even if this Qin Yu's cultivation speed is fast, and after 1,000 or 10,000 years, he might be qualified to be my equal. However, the current him is still far from being strong enough. Granny Yinhua, however, did not say anything. She merely stood up and raised her head to look at the sky. Her gaze seemed to be able to pierce through the atmosphere of the Jade Wave Star and through the endless void. Qi Qing, there are still many things that you do not know. After a long while, Granny Yinhua's voice resounded in the large garden. Cyan Emperor was slightly stunned. Not to mention the future him, even the current Qinyu is qualified to meet those old friends of yours. You will understand in the future. After Granny Yinhua finished speaking, she stood up and walked towards her residence. Cyan Emperor looked at Granny Yinhua's back. Soon after, he turned his head and looked towards the direction of Qin Yu's residence. He could not help but frown slightly. In the Crescent Moon Bay, from Cyan Emperor Granny Yinhua to any random maidservant, everyone was extremely friendly and amiable. During the past few days in the Crescent Moon Bay, Qin Yu had spent his days very comfortably. During these few days, he had also met Cyan Emperor and Granny Yinhua once or twice. Haha, Qi Qing, your old friends are here. Why are you still not coming out? A hearty laugh resounded in the sky above the Crescent Moon Bay. Old friends. Qin Yu, who was talking to Song Shi, could not help but pause. He raised his head and looked towards the source of the voice. A golden figure slowly descended from the sky. Although the golden figure was not far away from Qin Yu, and its speed was not fast, Qin Yu was still unable to clearly see the true appearance of the golden figure. Ah, Qin Yu, I have to go out and busy myself. Let's chat again in the future. Song Shi hurriedly said to Qin Yu. Qin Yu knew that Song Shi was in charge of receiving Cyan Emperor's old friends. Therefore, Qin Yu did not stop her and said with a smile, Song Shi, you can go and busy yourself. Just as Qin Yu finished speaking, young Master Qin Yu, His Majesty wants young master to go to the south side of the cold lake. A maidservant appeared in front of the door of Qin Yu's residence. I'll be there right away. Qin Yu immediately stood up. He knew that Granny Yinhua had told him to go and meet Cyan Emperor's old friends. And now, he should be going to meet the person with the golden figure. After staying in the Crescent Moon Bay for a few days, Qin Yu was very familiar with the path. He followed the corridor, and soon arrived at the cold lake where Cyan Emperor had fished. The cold lake was extremely cold, and there was a thin layer of fog floating around it. The ground on the south side of the cold lake was made of a very soft black grass. At the same time, there were 2 stone tables and more than 10 stone stools placed everywhere. There were some unique delicacies on the stone tables. At that moment, there were 3 people on the south side of the cold lake: Granny Yinhua, Cyan Emperor, and that golden figure. Even Cyan Emperor's wife was not present. The maidservant stopped a distance away from the cold lake. Qin Yu, right? Come quickly. Granny Yinhua turned her head and looked over. She chuckled as she called out. Instantly Cyan Emperor and that golden figure turned around and looked over. Only now did Qin Yu see clearly that the person with the golden figure was a white-haired old man wearing a golden robe. Of course, Qin Yu understood that a cultivator's age could not be determined from their appearance. Some immortal emperors had the appearance of a youth, but in reality, they were tens of millions of years old. To a cultivator, age did not have much meaning. Strength was the basis to determine whether one was a senior or a junior. Come Qin Yu, let me introduce you. Granny Yinhua chuckled as she pulled Qin Yu's hand. As for Qin Yu, he was already carefully looking at the golden-robed white-haired old man. Awe-inspiring. This golden-robed white-haired old man did not even need to put on an act. Even with a slight smile, he had a kind of awe-inspiring from his bones and soul. Qin Yu, this is the current patriarch of the Dragon Clan. Granny Yinhua said with a smile. Qin Yu's heart skipped a beat. It was actually the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan, the father of his big brother, Ao Wuming. The Dragon Emperor Ao Fong had an extremely high reputation within the Dragon Clan. He had 2 sons. One was a 5-clawed golden dragon, while the other was a variation super divine beast blood dragon. This had never happened in the history of the Dragon Clan. Junior Qin Yu greets Senior Ao. Qin Yu immediately said respectfully, Dragon Emperor. Just the strength of the Dragon clan was comparable to the entire immortal realm. One could imagine the status of the Dragon Emperor. It was something that even Emperor Yu, Cyan Emperor, and Mystic Emperor could not compare to. The Dragon Emperor looked at Qin Yu deeply for a long time. You are Qin Yu, the brother of that unfilial son of mine? Unfilial son? Qin Yu was slightly shocked. Ao Wuming was actually an unfilial son in the eyes of the Dragon Emperor? Ao Feng, how many years has it been? You still care about this? I think Wuming is a pretty good kid. Isn't it just marrying a white fox as his wife? What's the big deal? Cyan Emperor said discontentedly. The Dragon Emperor's expression turned ugly. Qi Qing, what's the big deal? Do you know how noble the bloodline of a five-clawed golden dragon is? A child of a five-clawed golden dragon. Even if it's not a five-clawed golden dragon, it's still a golden dragon. However, this unfilial son of Wuming did not marry a woman from the Dragon clan. Instead, he married a white fox. Isn't this a waste of a five-clawed golden dragon's bloodline? Hearing that, Qin Yu suddenly realized. The children of a five-clawed golden dragon are usually extraordinary. One can tell just by looking at the Dragon Emperor's two sons. One is a super divine beast, and the other is a variation super divine beast. Of course, the Dragon Emperor was a bit special. However, the children of a five-clawed golden dragon were mostly golden dragons. However, Ao Wuming was currently marrying a white fox. He married a non-dragon. Usually, when a dragon marries a non-dragon, the child will not be a purebred dragon. It's possible that the child will be a dragon. However, it's also possible that the child will be a white fox. Old dragon, oh old dragon, your requirements for your own child are truly too harsh. You even have to care about who he marries? Following the sound of an amiable and gentle voice, a rainbow light appeared beside them. This rainbow light turned into a person, a beautiful woman. She emitted an indescribable nobility. When people looked at her, they couldn't help but feel the desire to submit to her. When she looked at you, you would feel warmth. Who is this person? Qin Yu was puzzled. Qin Yu's immortal awareness was very sensitive. However, the people before him, Qin Yu felt a vague feeling. The four people before him, Qin Yu was actually unable to see through any of them. This included the legendary level 8 immortal emperor, Cyan Emperor. Qin Yu was able to sense Emperor Yu and Shui Tianya's strength. However, he was unable to see through Cyan Emperor and the others. You've also come. I can't control that unfilial son anymore. After all these years, he actually never returned to see me even once. The Dragon Emperor shook his head helplessly. Senior Ao, big brother Wuming and sister-in-law Lianzhu are still very loving. You don't have to force him too much. Qin Yu advised. Senior Ao, you can also be considered as my son's brother. In the future, you can just call me uncle. The Dragon Emperor said to Qin Yu with a smile. Qin Yu was startled. However, he still said, Qin Yu greets uncle. However, Qin Yu was a bit shocked. This Dragon Emperor's attitude towards him seemed to be a bit too good. The Dragon Emperor nodded with a smile. Mn, you call me uncle. In that case, in the future, when you see that unfilial son Wushu, you can also call him big brother. Wushu. Qin Yu thought of a person. That variation super divine beast, blood dragon Ao Wushu. Why did this Dragon Emperor suddenly mention Ao Wushu? I've never seen him before. Cunning. Cyan Emperor laughed loudly. Extremely cunning. That red-clothed woman also had a smile on her face. Hearing Cyan Emperor and the red-clothed woman's words, the Dragon Emperor's face slightly reddened. He immediately said, Qin Yu, you still don't know who this person is, right? Let me introduce her. This is the Bird Clan's super expert, Phoenix Emperor and I. Emperor and I, the Bird Clan's super divine beast Phoenix, a level 9 demon emperor level super divine beast. Her strength was definitely at the peak of the immortal, devil and demon realm. Junior greets Senior Emperor and I. Qin Yu immediately said. He truly did not expect this red-clothed woman to be Emperor and I. In Qin Yu's heart, a level 9 demon emperor level super divine beast could definitely be called the number 1 person in the immortal, devil and demon realm. Emperor and I nodded to Qin Yu with a smile on her face. Emperor and I, you should know this person, right? The Dragon Emperor smiled and pointed to Granny Yin Hua. It's big sister Yin Hua. Emperor and I said with a smile. Last time, I only saw Big Sister's appearance through Big Sister's great ability. However, I've never seen Big Sister's true appearance. This is the first time we've met. This meeting is also bestowed upon us by Qi Qing's success in cultivation. Granny Yin Hua said with a smile. Otherwise, if we were to meet again, who knows how long we'd have to wait. Qing Yu's heart twitched. A level 9 demon emperor level super divine beast revered Granny Yin Hua this much? Qing Yu was puzzled. Who exactly was the number 1 expert in the immortal devil and demon realm? A level 9 demon emperor level super divine beast. The mysterious Granny Yin Hua, or the Dragon Emperor. I still haven't congratulated Brother Qi Qing. Brother Qi Qing had bitterly trained for tens of thousands of years, and finally succeeded. In the entire immortal devil and demon realm, Brother Qi Qing could be considered as the number 1 expert in the immortal, devil and demon realm. The Dragon Emperor sighed. Hearing those words, Qing Yu was once again stunned. A level 8 immortal emperor level Cyan Emperor was actually able to become the number 1 expert in the immortal, devil and demon realm? Confused. Qing Yu was completely confused about the strength of these people. Chapter 375. Old Dragon, oh old dragon, you truly wish for the world to be in chaos. I, Qi Qing, am not as gifted as your dragon clan, nor am I born from nature like Emperor and I. Even if I have some luck, I am still far from being number 1 in the immortal devil and demon realm. Laughed Cyan Emperor. Emperor and I also laughed and scolded. This old dragon, as the emperor of the dragon clan, who knows how many treasures he has that we don't know about. At most, our Phoenix clan only had 2 in the immortal devil and demon realm. And now there's only me. After I pass the divine tribulation and ascend, we won't even be able to see phoenixes in the immortal, devil and demon realm. As for the dragon clan, they're a densely packed group. Hearing this, Qing Yu laughed in his heart. However, he was able to guess that as the Grand Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan, how could he not have exceptional treasures? A level 9 Demon Emperor Super Divine Beast, the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan, the Cyan Emperor, who had been a level 8 Immortal Emperor for countless years, and the mysterious Granny Yin Hua. None of them could be looked down upon. In the past, when we met, there was still a Gold Punishment Lord. However, the Gold Punishment Lord is no longer here. Said Emperor and I suddenly with a sigh. That's right. Gold Punishment Lord. I still remember the scene when the 4 of us met. Sighed Cyan Emperor. Qing Yu was surprised. Gold Punishment Lord, who was that? The Dragon Emperor noticed the confusion on Qing Yu's face. He smiled and said, Qing Yu, it seems that you still don't know about the Gold Punishment Lord. However, you should know about the Dark Star Realm, right? Qing Yu nodded. Between the Immortal Realm and the Bird Clan's territory, in the northeast region of the entire Immortal Devil and Demon Realm, was the legendary Dark Star Realm. The Dark Star Realm has 3 great sovereigns. These 3 great sovereigns are inherited from generation to generation. These 3 great sovereigns are respectively the Gold Punishment Lord, Black Flame Lord and White Profound Lord. Explained the Dragon Emperor. Shocking. Qing Yu's heart suddenly trembled. He finally knew who the Black Flame Lord and White Profound Lord were. They were actually 2 of the 3 great sovereigns of the Dark Star Realm. The Dragon Monarch continued. The Dark Star Realm's 3 great sovereigns have been passed down from generation to generation. Among them, the Gold Punishment Lord is the leader, while the Black Flame Lord and the White Profound Lord are his assistants. The 3 great sovereigns manage the entire Dark Star Realm together. The previous generation's Gold Punishment Lord was a close friend of me, Emperor and I and Emperor Qing. The 4 of us would frequently gather together. Experts were lonely. At Dragon Emperor's level, only the 4 of them could communicate with each other on equal terms. Therefore, the 4 of them all knew how great the others were. Cyan Emperor nodded and said, Among the 4 of us, the Gold Punishment Lord's strength is the strongest. He is also our big brother. Merely, the gold punishment lord has already passed the divine tribulation and ascended to the divine realm. Ascend to the god realm? Qingyu was slightly surprised. Although he had always heard of people who had passed the god tribulation and ascended to the god realm, this was the first time he had heard of someone who had actually ascended to the god realm. The gold punishment lord, the leader of the dark star realm's 3 great sovereigns. When it comes to the divine tribulation, only the 3 great sovereigns of the dark star realm are the most powerful. Regardless of which generation of sovereigns, I don't think they have ever failed. As for the immortal realm, devil realm, and even the demon realm, the probability of failure is extremely high. Cyan Emperor sighed. Senior Cyan Emperor, you're saying that none of them have ever failed? Qingyu found it a bit hard to believe. That's right. The 3 great sovereigns of the dark star realm, at least as far as I know, regardless of which generation of sovereigns, none of them have ever failed. Cyan Emperor nodded. Qingyu couldn't help but smack his lips. To be able to successfully pass the divine tribulation, it also signified their strength. Every generation of the 3 great sovereigns of the dark star realm had successfully passed the divine tribulation. From this, one could imagine how powerful the 3 great sovereigns of the dark star realm were. Furthermore, the previous generation's gold punishment lord was said to be their big brother by Cyan Emperor in them. To be considered as their big brother by Cyan Emperor in them, one could imagine how powerful he was. Although this dark star realm only occupies 1/10 of the immortal, devil and demon realm, its true strength is likely to be frighteningly powerful. Qingyu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Times Granny Yinhua, Cyan Emperor, Emperor and I, and the Dragon Emperor were chatting. Some of the so-called secrets of the immortal, devil and demon realm were casually mentioned by them. As for the Dragon Emperor, he seemed to be especially good to Qingyu, and would frequently explain things to Qingyu. As the 4 of them were chatting, Qingyu didn't find it appropriate to ask too much. Frequently, he would have things that he was confused about. After receiving the Dragon Emperor's careful explanation, Qingyu also had a good impression of the Dragon Emperor. After hearing so much, Qingyu completely understood. The reason why the Dragon Emperor and I had come this time was to congratulate the Cyan Emperor. The main reason was because the Cyan Emperor had finally succeeded after so many years of bitter training. As for what he had bitterly trained for, Qingyu wasn't too sure either. Qi, when do you plan to undergo the divine tribulation? The Dragon Emperor suddenly asked. When? Cyan Emperor pondered for a moment. I haven't thought about it carefully yet. However, it shouldn't be too long. To be honest, in all these years, what I wanted to do the most was to succeed in my training and undergo the divine tribulation. However, now that I've succeeded in my training, I'm somewhat hesitant. Cyan Emperor laughed at himself. Qingyu was puzzled in his heart. Could one also decide when to undergo the divine tribulation? According to Qingyu's knowledge, when undergoing the divine tribulation, one would usually automatically sense when to undergo the divine tribulation. As for when to undergo the divine tribulation, that was decided by the heavens. How could the person undergoing the divine tribulation decide for themselves? However, Qingyu didn't ask. He only quietly listened. Qing, perhaps you'll undergo the divine tribulation earlier than me. Emperor and I said with a smile. Emperor and I was also a level 9 demon emperor. Merely, she still hadn't sensed when to undergo the divine tribulation. Granny Yinhua laughed and said, Qing has stayed in the immortal devil and demon realm for too long. There's not much meaning for him to continue to stay here. It's also good for him to undergo the divine tribulation earlier and ascend to the divine realm. That's true. The Dragon Emperor agreed. Halfway through the conversation, Qingyu left. The main reason was because towards the end of the conversation, they were all trivial matters between friends. As an outsider and a member of the younger generation, it wasn't good for Qingyu to listen. Granny Yinhua, the Dragon Emperor, and the others also knew that Qingyu felt awkward. Thus, they had Qingyu leave earlier. In this banquet, Qingyu didn't eat anything. However, he learned quite a lot of things. After returning to his residence, Qingyu's heart was still unable to calm down. Dragon Emperor, Emperor and them ought to be the highest level group of people in the entire immortal, devil and demon realm. Qin Yu's heart was filled with shock. That group of people were too powerful. Qin Yu had a feeling that, if any one of those 4 people wanted to deal with him, they would be able to do so. As for the divine armor, Granny Yin Hua had once said that there were no less than 10 people in the immortal, devil and demon realm that could break through his divine armor. From Qin Yu's point of view, these 4 people were definitely able to break through his divine armor and directly cause the black hole in his body to collapse. These are true experts. The gap between me and them is still very large. Qin Yu heaved a long sigh. These 4 people, even the level 9 immortal emperor Hidden Emperor Lin Yin, Qin Yu also felt that Lin Yin was inferior to these 4 people. Times as the core planet of the Angelica Dihurica galaxy, the transportation system of the Jade Wave star was very developed. There were also a lot of interstellar teleportation arrays. Among them, there were even 3 interstellar teleportation arrays that led from the Jade Wave star to other galaxies. These 3 interstellar teleportation arrays led to the north, west and east of the Angelica Dihurica galaxy respectively. The galaxy to the west of the Angelica Dihurica galaxy was called the Blood River Galaxy. This Blood River Galaxy was long in shape. The outside of the galaxy was covered with a layer of faint red color. It was like a blood-red river. The interstellar teleportation array that led from the Jade Wave star to the Blood River Galaxy was precisely the Reef Yellow star. Blood River Galaxy, on the Reef Yellow star. The surging river rushed toward the north. Above the surging river, there were 3 people standing in the air. The person leading them was a purple-gowned Emperor Yu. Behind him stood 2 white-clothed youths. An enormous immortal awareness was transmitted over from the direction of the Angelica Dihurica galaxy. It passed through the cosmic space between the 2 galaxies and directly covered the entire Reef Yellow star. Brother Qi Qing's immortal awareness is very powerful. Emperor Yu's immortal awareness also extended over and came in contact with the other party's immortal awareness. Brother Fengyu, may I know why you sent me a transmission? Cyan Emperor asked. Before this, Emperor Yu had just used his transmission spiritual pearl to send him a transmission. Because the distance between the 2 of them was not far, they used their immortal awareness to communicate. The distance between the 2 galaxies was not far. However, the distance between the 2 galaxies was still very frightening. Yu Fan has already told me everything. I'm merely very surprised. Brother Qi Qing actually knew that person was Qin Yu. Emperor Yu had a smile on his face as he transmitted his words through his immortal awareness. If Brother Fengyu knows, then it's not surprising that I know as well. Cyan Emperor laughed. Emperor Yu cursed in his heart. Cyan Emperor, this old fellow, had concealed his strength too deeply. Even after all these years, Emperor Yu and Mystic Emperor were still unable to see through exactly how much strength Cyan Emperor had concealed. However, even the portion that Emperor Yu and Mystic Emperor discovered was already frightening enough. Brother Qi Qing, the reason why I came to find you this time around is because of this Qin Yu. Emperor Yu directly spoke of his intention. You're talking about Qin Yu? Could it be that you want the bewitching god painting? Cyan Emperor asked instead of answering. Emperor Yu was startled. Only at this moment did he realize that Cyan Emperor actually knew this much. At this moment, Emperor Yu became alert. He did not believe that Cyan Emperor would not care about the bewitching god painting. So Brother Qi Qing already knew everything. That's right, I want the bewitching god painting. You also know that this divine tribulation is very hard to pass. If I'm not careful, hundreds of millions of years of bitter cultivation would all turn into bubbles. No matter what, I want to make myself more confident in order to increase the possibility of passing the divine tribulation. Emperor Yu said everything very honestly. Cyan Emperor was silent for a long time. I understand what you're thinking. Cyan Emperor said after some consideration. It's just that I have a good impression of this little brother Qin Yu. If he were to be killed by you like this then... Brother Qi Qing. Emperor Yu interrupted Cyan Emperor. Brother Qi Qing, I don't think you've ever met Qin Yu before. Even if you have a good impression of him now, so what? You didn't know him before, and you've only known him for a few days. You shouldn't have such strong feelings for him. Could it be that Brother Qi Qing also took a fancy to the bewitching god painting? Emperor Yu asked. Bewitching god painting? Feng Yu. When Enai Yang possessed the bewitching god painting, when you mystic emperor and him went to the bewitching god temple, did I go? When you all invited the blood devil emperor and the others, did I go? I don't think I went even once. You're saying that I took a fancy to the bewitching god painting? Isn't that a bit too laughable? Cyan Emperor was a bit angry. Emperor Yu naturally knew about these deeds of Cyan Emperor. The top experts of the immortal, devil and demon realm had entered the bewitching god temple several times before. However, this Cyan Emperor actually did not go even once. At least, Emperor Yu and them had never heard of Cyan Emperor entering the bewitching god temple. Unless Cyan Emperor sneaked in by himself. Emperor Yu simply did not believe that Cyan Emperor would be so foolish to not go in with everyone, and instead take the risk by himself. Brother Qi Qing, let's say that I was wrong. However, why are you protecting Qin Yu like this? Emperor Yu was a bit anxious in his heart. If Cyan Emperor was determined to protect Qin Yu, then it would truly be difficult for him to kill Qin Yu. Emperor Yu clenched his teeth and said via voice transmission, Brother Qi Qing, I remember that you still owe me a favor. Back then, you said that if there's anything that I need you to do, you'll help me with your life. Right now you want me to kill Qin Yu? That's absolutely impossible. Cyan Emperor said resolutely and decisively, I owe you a favor. You can ask me to do other things, but killing him is absolutely impossible. I'm not asking you to kill him. I only want you to not obstruct me. Emperor Yu continued. How about this? I will definitely not attack him in the territory of the Angelica Dahirica galaxy. However, when he exits the Angelica Dahirica galaxy, you must immediately tell me. As long as you tell me, this favor will be repaid. How about it? It was very rare for an expert like Cyan Emperor to owe a favor. Back then, Cyan Emperor needed a treasure. When Emperor Yu found out about it, he was instead overjoyed. He thought of all sorts of ways to obtain that treasure and give it to Cyan Emperor. Also that Cyan Emperor would owe him a favor. Now that he had to use this favor, Emperor Yu was a bit reluctant. Seeing that Cyan Emperor was still silent, Emperor Yu continued. I only want you to inform me. You don't have to attack him. You don't even have to attack him in your territory. Then alright. Cyan Emperor finally agreed. When Qin Yu exits the interstellar conveying array, I will tell you. However, you must remember this. No matter what, you cannot kill him in my territory. As for how you attack him and whether or not you succeed, it's none of my business. Good, it's a deal. Emperor Yu was overjoyed. That's it. Cyan Emperor retrieved his omnipresent immortal awareness. Emperor Yu had a slight smile on his face. One of the two white-clothed youths behind him asked, Your Majesty, is it a success? Cyan Emperor, he will definitely do what he says. Emperor Yu was very confident. Suddenly, Emperor Yu asked, That's right, of the immortal emperors under my command, how many have arrived at the 3 assembly points? The white-clothed youth on the left said respectfully, Currently, 16 immortal emperors have arrived at the 3 assembly planets. The other immortal emperors are still on the way. I reckon that within a day, there will definitely be 48 immortal emperors arriving. Very good. At this moment, Emperor Yu's mood was very good. The famous immortal emperors under Emperor Yu's command were the 18 emperors and the 36 lords. At the same time, there were also many immortal emperors that were not very famous. However, their strength was also very valiant. Qin Yu, this time, I have set up an inescapable net. I would like to see how you are going to escape. Emperor Yu was extremely confident. Chapter 376. Angelica Dahirica Galaxy, Jade Wave Star. In a courtyard of the Crescent Moon Bay. At this moment, Cyan Emperor was anxiously arguing with Granny Yinhua. Big Sister Yinhua, why did you make me promise him? Cyan Emperor was a bit angry and anxious. At the same time, he was also puzzled. Big Sister Inhua, now that Feng Yu has set up an inescapable net, it would be very difficult for Qin Yu to safely escape. Not only did you not allow me to stop him, you instead made me promise to pass him a message. When the two of them were conversing earlier, the contents of their conversation were all transmitted to Granny Inhua's mind by Cyan Emperor. Emperor Yu requested Cyan Emperor to not obstruct him from killing Qin Yu. He also requested Cyan Emperor to inform him when Qin Yu left the Jade Wave Star. At that time, Cyan Emperor was prepared to refuse. However, Granny Inhua, who was beside him, requested Cyan Emperor to agree. Cyan Emperor believed Granny Inhua, and thus agreed. You don't have to worry about this, Granny Inhua said with a smile. If Qin Yu does not experience some setbacks, how could he become a talent? Furthermore, if he is unable to even break through Emperor Yu's trap, he cannot blame anyone for his death. Within Granny Inhua's tone, there was disdain towards Emperor Yu's trap. That's right. Young people should experience more setbacks and properly temper themselves. There are also benefits. Hearing Granny Inhua say this, Cyan Emperor did not say any more. The reason why Cyan Emperor had such a good attitude towards Qin Yu was mainly because of Granny Inhua. If it wasn't for Granny Inhua paying attention to Qin Yu, how could Cyan Emperor be so good to a total stranger? When even Granny Inhua said this, Cyan Emperor would naturally not say any more. Big Sister Inhua, I will take my leave now and not disturb you any longer, Cyan Emperor said with a smile. Granny Inhua lightly nodded with her back facing Cyan Emperor. Cyan Emperor then quietly left the courtyard. In the courtyard, Granny Inhua's gaze was looking at the boundless void. This Qin Yu's cultivation speed seems to be pretty good. However, why can't I see anything astonishing about him? Granny Inhua had a trace of doubt on her face. I hope that he will not disappoint me. Qin Yu stayed in the Crescent Moon Bay for a few more days. During these few days, Qin Yu met the Dragon Emperor, Empress and Azure Supreme the Arch, and Granny Inhua a few times. Among them, he met the Dragon Emperor the most. It was mainly because the Dragon Emperor took the initiative to talk to him. At this moment, the Azure Emperor, Dragon Emperor, Emperor and Granny Inhua, Song Shi, and the others were sending Qin Yu off. Today, Qin Yu had finally decided to leave. Nephew Qin Yu, please stay for a few more days. Sovereign and I will be staying here for a while. Don't be in such a hurry to leave, the Dragon Emperor said to Qin Yu in a slightly unhappy tone. Uncle, I really have something important to do, Qin Yu said helplessly. From their expressions and tones, outsiders could clearly feel the closeness between them. Over the past few days, the Dragon Emperor had been addressing Qin Yu as Nephew Qin Yu, or Nephew Qin Yu. Old dragon, that's enough. A child still needs to go out and adventure, said Emperor Anai with a smile. The few people present all knew why the Dragon Emperor was so good to Qin Yu. Furthermore, it was a bit excessive. When they thought of the reason, they all laughed in their hearts. Qin Yu, go out and adventure properly. I hope that the next time Granny sees you, your strength will have greatly improved, Granny Inhua said to Qin Yu directly. Qin Yu immediately said respectfully, Granny, rest assured. Qin Yu will definitely not slack off. Qin Yu was able to feel the requirement of strength that Granny Inhua had for Qin Yu. Senior Azure Emperor, Senior Emperor and Uncle Granny Song Shi, I will be leaving now. Farewell. Qin Yu cupped his hands and said. Soon after, Qin Yu's body turned into a ray of light and streaked across the horizon. Finally, he disappeared into the horizon. Blood River Galaxy, Reef Yellow Star. Emperor Yu, who was wearing a purple gown, stood on the peak of a lone mountain. He was currently looking towards the east, towards the direction of the Angelica Dehirica Galaxy. Mu Yen, are the preparations done everywhere? Said Emperor Yu indifferently. The yellow-gowned old man behind him said respectfully. Your Majesty, there are 3 conveying arrays on the Jade Wave Star that lead to other galaxies. The other 2 planets that these 3 conveying arrays lead to have 16 immortal emperors gathered there. As for the 3rd planet, the Reef Yellow Star, there are over 20 immortal emperors gathered there. There are definitely enough people to set up the Great Formation arrays. Very good. Emperor Yu's eyes shined. Pass down the order. Have the 48 immortal emperors that are setting up the formation arrays on the 3 planets get ready. As long as they receive my order, they are to immediately activate the sealing element refining flames array. This time, no matter what, we must capture Qinyu, said Emperor Yu resolutely and decisively. Yes, Your Majesty. A trace of excitement appeared on the yellow-gowned old man's face. At the same time, a transmission spiritual pearl appeared in the yellow-gowned old man's hand. He began to send orders to the immortal emperors on the 3 planets, including the reef yellow star. Time passed by minute. Emperor Yu stood motionlessly on the summit of the lone mountain. There was not the slightest bit of impatience on his face. Today, Qinyu would be leaving the Jade Wave Star. This news was personally sent by the Cyan Emperor. There was definitely no problem with it. As for when exactly Qinyu would be leaving, it was still hard to say. Emperor Yu was holding a transmission spiritual pearl in his hand at all times. He was waiting for the Cyan Emperor's message. Feng Yu, Qinyu has already stepped into the interstellar conveying array. It's the conveying array that leads to the reef yellow star. A message suddenly appeared in the transmission spiritual pearl. Emperor Yu scanned it with his immortal awareness, and his eyes shined. My matter is already done. As for whether or not I managed to capture Qinyu, that's your own matter. Also, don't tell Qinyu about me helping you. Cyan Emperor's words contained dissatisfaction. Emperor Yu's face was filled with smiles. Rest assured, I will definitely not leak it out. Your Majesty, a person has arrived from the interstellar conveying array of the Jade Wave Star. His appearance does not match what Your Majesty described. It might be that he changed his appearance. As for his strength, this subordinate is unable to see through it. Another message was sent over. After receiving this message, Emperor Yu was completely certain. Everyone listen up. Activate the sealing element refining flames array of the reef yellow star. Through the transmission spiritual pearl, Emperor Yu immediately gave the order to the 16 immortal emperors that had been preparing the entire time. An immortal emperor that had been quietly waiting outside the reef yellow star received the order. He let out a long sigh of relief in his heart. It's finally begun. Not only him, the other 15 immortal emperors that had also been quietly waiting all relaxed. The 16 of them simultaneously began to circulate the immortal elemental energy within their bodies, and began to form hand seals unceasingly. In the blink of an eye, beams of light soared into the sky. There were also beams of light that shot into the reef yellow star from the cosmic space. In an instant, the entire reef yellow star started to tremble as if there was an earthquake. Times at the location of the reef yellow star's interstellar conveying array. Just as Qinyu came out from the interstellar conveying array, he felt that the entire Earth started to tremble. There were even frightening beams of light descending from the sky. The ground shattered and energy filled the air. The surrounding cultivators all had frightened expressions. What's going on? Qinyu didn't know what was going on at all. When the surrounding cultivators saw such a huge commotion, their faces were also filled with fear. Could it be that the immortal emperors are fighting each other? It actually caused the entire reef yellow star to tremble. Everyone, hurry up and leave. This reef yellow star might explode and be destroyed. Some immortals immediately shouted. I'll give you 10 high-grade elemental spirit stones. Hurry up and let me go. Someone took out high-grade elemental spirit stones and wanted to leave through the interstellar conveying array. At this moment, the entire reef yellow star was filled with powerful energy. If one were to use greater teleportation, that would be courting death. One could only leave through the interstellar conveying array. A large number of people around the interstellar conveying array wanted to leave through the interstellar conveying array. Scram. Move to the side. Let me go first. Otherwise I'll kill you. A black-clothed, one-eyed man shouted angrily. It was chaos. There were only a few interstellar conveying arrays. A large number of immortals rushed over and started to fight over those interstellar conveying arrays. They used force, they used money. It was always chaos. What's going on? Everything happened too suddenly. Qinyu didn't even understand what was going on. Suddenly, boom, boom, boom. Continuous explosions sounded. Some of the fragments from the explosions fiercely smashed onto Qin Yu's body. They were shattered into powder by the protective energy around Qin Yu's body. Qin Yu turned around to look. All of the Reef Yellow Star's interstellar conveying arrays had been completely destroyed. What are you doing? Qin Yu coldly looked at the white-clothed man in front of him. Why did you destroy all of the interstellar conveying arrays? Earlier, it was this white-clothed man who destroyed all of the interstellar conveying arrays with lightning speed. This caused Qin Yu to be extremely furious. However, Qin Yu also discovered this person's strength, level 4 Immortal Emperor. He was the only Immortal Emperor in the surroundings. Seeing the destroyed interstellar conveying arrays, a large number of Immortals in the surroundings were stunned. Why did you destroy the interstellar conveying arrays? Can't you see that the entire planet is trembling? A youth walked out and angrily reprimanded. Who knows, some great calamity might happen to the Reef Yellow Star. A while ago, 2 great Immortal Emperors fought on the Blue Snow Star. Almost half of the entire planet was destroyed. If something like this were to happen again today, because of you, all of us might lose our lives. You can shut your mouth now, the white-clothed man said indifferently. His sword flashed. That youth who was reprimanding was instantly pierced through his yuanying. His soul scattered. Absolute silence. The large group of immortals who were watching all did not dare to speak. Firstly, they could tell how strong this white-clothed man was. Secondly, that youth was an extremely strong golden immortal. However, he was killed with a single sword strike. Furthermore, the Reef Yellow Star did not have any calamity. Everything that happened earlier was just a guess. You should be an Immortal Emperor, right? A dignified Immortal Emperor actually destroyed the interstellar conveying arrays. Speak, why did you destroy the interstellar conveying arrays? Qin Yu said indifferently to the white-clothed man. At the same time, Qin Yu's immortal sense began to spread out. Immortal Emperors. 1, 2, 3. 22 Immortal Emperors. Qin Yu's immortal sense had already discovered all the surrounding Immortal Emperors, including the strongest Immortal Emperor, Emperor Yu. Qin Yu felt that something was amiss. Could it be that after I entered the Jade Wave Star, Emperor Yu had sent people to wait here? Did he confirm my identity just by seeing me? However, how did he recognize me? Qin Yu started to feel puzzled. At the beginning he had concealed his aura. Emperor Yu shouldn't have been able to detect him. Could it be that the person who was unable to see through his strength was definitely him? Qin Yu believed that Emperor Yu would not be so rash. Unfortunately, Qin Yu did not think that it was Cyan Emperor who sold him out. Haha, Qin Yu. In order to capture you, His Majesty sent all the experts to the 3 major planets just to wait for you. This time, don't even think about escaping. The white-clothed man laughed loudly and said. Soon after he shot towards the sky. Qin Yu flew towards the sky almost at the same time. The interstellar conveying array has been destroyed. Everyone, fly out of the Reef Yellow Star first, and use greater teleportation when we reach a stable cosmic space. An immortal said as he flew towards the sky. At the same time, a large group of immortals also flew towards the sky. The white-clothed man and Qin Yu flew towards the sky one after the other. With the speed of the immortals, they broke through the atmosphere of the Reef Yellow Star in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Qin Yu was standing in the air above the atmosphere. The surrounding clouds were floating. Qin Yu frowned deeply. The entire planet has been trapped. Seems like I won't be able to escape. Qin Yu was very calm. Earlier, that immortal emperor directly flew into the cosmic space. However, Qin Yu did not succeed. When he was flying, he was blocked by an earth-shattering light barrier. That light barrier was circular in shape. In one breath, it enveloped the entire Reef Yellow Star. At this moment, the entire Reef Yellow Star was like an egg yolk. It was completely enveloped by this eggshell. Bang! 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 Sounds of collisions sounded one after another. The immortals that flew from behind all crashed into the light barrier. At the beginning, the light barrier was not visible at all. After the immortals crashed into it, it emitted a burst of light, and then disappeared. Phew! His body was like a ray of light. He directly teleported from the atmosphere and arrived on the ground. Emperor Yu, in order to capture me, you've spent quite a bit of effort. Qin Yu humphed coldly and said. A purple-clothed man rapidly descended from the sky and landed on the ground. He smiled as he looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu, you should also know that today, you are a turtle in a jar. It is simply impossible for you to escape. Enveloping the entire planet, that enormous amount of energy made it, so that there is no place on the reef yellow star that can teleport. You also sent people to destroy the interstellar conveying array. That was a good move. I indeed have no way of escaping. Qin Yu smiled coldly and said. Hee. Emperor Yu's face was filled with smiles. To be honest, even now, I still don't know if you are Qin Yu or Lan Feng. My mind is a bit muddled. However, I know. You have a divine armor, 10,000 beasts atlas and bewitching god painting on you. At this moment, Emperor Yu felt that victory was within his grasp. If you are obedient and give me the 10,000 beasts atlas and bewitching god painting, I can give up the other divine armaments and Qin Yu immortal mansion. I can even spare your life. Are you willing? Emperor Yu said very magnanimously. Although the divine armor and divine sword Skypiercer were very good, Emperor Yu had his own offensive and defensive divine armaments. In his eyes, the 10,000 beasts atlas and bewitching god painting were the most important. Qin Yu was a bit surprised. He immediately smiled and said, the conditions are not bad. However, the 10,000 beasts atlas and bewitching god painting are mine. Why should I give them to you? You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.